Chapter 964. Qin Wenyan and the experts of the Qin sect all had heavy expressions on their faces. Before this, they had already expended a great deal of energy in the battle against the Violet sect. Qin Wenyan had even used the immortal vanquishing swordplay, and although he wasn't at the end of his rope yet, it was already extremely difficult for him to fight at his peak. Under such circumstances, it was even more difficult to deal with the evil palace. Let alone the Dongshengshan gate. Let me bring you away. Qing'er transmitted her voice to Qin Wenyan. The disciples of the Qin sect are all here. If we flee, the people of the Dongshengshan gate would definitely vent their anger on them and humiliate us. Qin Wenyan replied. Although the people of the Dongshengshan gate didn't dare to kill the descendants of immortal kings and emperors, they dared to humiliate them. This was the city of ancient emperors, and as long as they didn't kill the descendants, the elders of the Qin sect wouldn't interfere. This was a battle between them. Do it. That disciple of the Dongshengshan gate spoke again. Mo Xie's eyes were fixated on Little Rascal. Little Rascal was his true prey. To him, Mo Xie, the grudge between him and Qin Wenyan could be settled later. Today, he came here with only one purpose, to obtain 1/9 of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. Once he obtained 2/9 of it, he would be even stronger. Rumble! At this moment, the experts from the other 3 camps of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect all gathered together, forming into battle formations. In an instant, their auras engulfed the heavens and earth, boundlessly tyrannical as the wind and clouds changed color. In one of the battle formations, the silhouette of an ancient demon could be faintly seen, resembling an ancient primordial devil ape, incomparably violent. Every time its eyes opened and closed, a supreme might could be felt. Another group of people gathered together. Around them floated numerous ancient cauldrons, with countless runic inscriptions engraved on them. The aura that cascaded down from them seemed to be able to crush the heavens, suppressing everything. Each and every one of these cauldrons seemed to originate from the primordial era. The countless runic inscriptions made these cauldrons exude a simple and unadorned aura, as though they had existed since the beginning of time, exuding boundless might. The last battle formation was the most casual. It was as if they were 9 people in one formation, forming 9 battle groups. They were flexible and varied, able to deal with all kinds of sudden battles. Their power was equally terrifying. There were 81 people in each of the 4 great battle formations. There were existences that could seal the void, peerless experts with unparalleled offensive abilities, and there were also nimble and ever-changing battle formations. They could be said to be perfect, with no flaws at all. Even without the evil palace and Violet sect's experts, the 324 of them were more than enough to threaten the experts of the Qin sect. After all, although the Qin sect had 3 peak-level combatants, they were all fighting independently, and there was no way for them to form a super-powerful battle formation like the evil palace and Violet sect. The Dongshengshan gate sent them here to deal with the Qin sect and kill Qin Wenyan. It definitely wasn't a moment of rashness. For immortal emperors, they would always consider everything thoroughly and wouldn't allow any mistakes to happen. Rumble! The experts from the Dongshengshan gate's primordial devil ape battle formation launched their attacks. Incomparably ferocious devil palms blotted out the sun, slamming down from the heavens. A supreme might bore down on everything, shattering the void as it directly slammed towards Qin Wenyan. Qing'er's silhouette flickered as she appeared in front of Qin Wenyan. Terrifying spatial energy gushed forth from her as the Azure Lotus sacred cannon was unleashed. Boundless spatial energy engulfed the area as she blasted out the immortal slaying diagram, aiming for the sky. However, the palm imprint was simply too gigantic, directly shattering the immortal slaying diagram. The palm of the primordial devil ape battle formation contained boundless runic light, as well as many different types of profound intents within, capable of destroying everything. Qing'er's countenance was ice-cold. The members of the Qin sect gathered together and unleashed their attacks into the air. For a time, the atmosphere in the air became incomparably violent as attacks of various colors blasted out, slamming into the terrifying gigantic palm imprint. Finally, with a thunderous boom, the gigantic palm imprint shattered apart. However, numerous ancient cauldrons that could suppress the ancient eras descended towards them. Each and every one of these cauldrons exuded an unparalleled might. It's impossible for a single person to tear apart such a battle formation. Not only that, when the members of our Qin sect attacked together, the strength of our attacks were too scattered. We aren't like a battle formation that can gather all our strength together, resulting in a qualitative transformation. Hence, the effectiveness of our attacks is limited. This battle is bound to end in defeat. Namhuang Yunshi spoke in a low voice. The red light from her body towered up into the sky as numerous ancient phoenixes blasted towards one of the cauldrons. Finally, one of the cauldrons exploded apart. However, the other ancient cauldrons continued rushing over with boundless might. Namhuang Yunshi alone was far from enough. Qin Wenyan naturally understood the meaning of Namhuang Yunshi's words. Using a battle formation to fight was equivalent to combining the strength of a group of experts to unleash attacks that were 10 times or even 100 times stronger. The stronger the battle formation, the more powerful it would be. And among them, even if one of them had 5 or 6 times the combat prowess of their opponents, they would still be shattered if they encountered an attack that was 10 times or 100 times stronger. Even if all 10 of them attacked at the same time, because their attacks were scattered, the moment they encountered an attack that was 10 times stronger, they would instantly be destroyed. The attacks of the 10 of them would also be destroyed time and time again. Scattered attacks couldn't be gathered together, causing the might of their attacks to multiply by several times. Hence, they had no way to defend against the attacks of a battle formation. Qin Wenyan stepped out and blasted his palms towards one of the ancient cauldrons. However, he was ruthlessly forced back as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. He was no longer the same as before. Although the immortal vanquishing swordplay wouldn't be able to threaten his life like before, it was still sufficient to cause his combat prowess to plummet. Numerous ancient cauldrons frenziedly blasted towards Qin Wenyan, aiming to take his life. The experts of the Qin sect gathered in front of Qin Wenyan, helping him to defend against the incoming attacks. However, all of them felt despair in their hearts. Their Qin sect would surely be defeated in this battle. Mo Xie didn't act at all. Before this, he sat on the mountain and watched the tigers fight, waiting for the battle between the Violet sect and the Evil Palace. As expected, both sides were heavily injured, and when it was time for him to act, the army of the Dongshengshan Gate actually rushed over. This caused an expression of interest to appear on Mo Xie's face. In this case, it seemed that he wouldn't need to waste too much effort to capture that demonic beast. Most probably, the members of the Qin sect wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Brothers of the Qin sect. At this moment, Qin Wenyan roared, his voice reverberating through the air. For this battle, we are being surrounded by 3 powers, and our defeat is certain. However, if we continue to fight like this, my brothers of the Qin sect will surely be humiliated here. Are you all willing to do so, or are you all willing to disregard everything and fight for your lives? Qin Wenyan's voice shook the air. Just like what Qin Wenyan said, if they continued to fight, they would surely be defeated. If they could block the forces of the Dongshengshan Gate and the Evil Palace, even if they didn't dare to kill them, they would still injure them and rob them of their treasures. Hence, the Qin sect was faced with a choice. If they continued to fight like this, they would surely be defeated and humiliated. Or, if they fought for their lives and unleashed their immortal ranked weapons, they might be able to salvage the situation. With immortal ranked weapons, everyone's strength would skyrocket, and they might still have a sliver of hope. But if they used immortal ranked weapons in a group battle, the danger was too great, and there was a high possibility of losing their lives. Fight! A voice rang out, replying to Qin Wenyan. Let's fight for our lives. How can we endure the humiliation of the Dongshengshan Gate? The geniuses of the Qin sect replied. Even before Qin Wenyan could say anything, he could already sense waves of immortal might gushing forth. The experts here all took out their immortal ranked weapons, and for a moment, an even more violent aura gushed forth, containing boundless might. Among these people, the one who was the most indifferent was none other than Qin Wenyan. He didn't care about killing, The enmity between him and the Dongshengshan Gate was already one of irreconcilable enemies. It was just that now, the Qin sect was implicated as well. Qin Wenyin felt some guilt in his heart as he continued, "Brothers of the Qin sect, kill your way out of the battlefield. It's fine for us to give up on this battle, we can always take revenge in the future." "What about you?" someone asked. "Don't worry, I still want to slaughter everyone from the Dongshengshan Gate. How can I bear to die in battle?" Qin Wendian spoke in arrogance. His left hand was wielding the sky rock runic bone while his right hand took out the demon sword. His palm slashed across the surface of the demon sword, causing it to hum as a towering aura gushed forth from it. Boom! A terrifying might gushed forth from the demon's sword as it expanded in size. The shadow of a great rock appeared, soaring through the air. The sky rock runic bone trembled, and after that, Qin Wendian saw a shocking scene. The demon's sword shone with boundless runic light, transforming into a fearsome suction force that directly swallowed the sky rock runic bone. The experts from the Dongshengshan Gate all took out their immortal ranked weapons. Their countenances were extremely unsightly to behold. This wasn't a situation they wanted to see. If they took out their immortal ranked weapons, they would no longer be able to form battle formations. In the face of immortal ranked weapons, the might of a battle formation would be much weaker. Unless they broke through to the immortal ranked realm and formed immortal ranked battle formations. A battle between immortal ranked weapons would definitely be a chaotic battle, and their lives would also be in danger. This was something they didn't want to see the most. Who would have thought that Qin Wenyin would actually initiate a battle between immortal ranked weapons? Mo Xie furrowed his brows. This battle was somewhat unexpected. By initiating a battle between immortal ranked weapons, it would naturally be a life and death battle. It was extremely rare to see so many geniuses from the city of ancient emperors fighting to the death. The demon's sword before Qin Wenyin hummed, trembling even more intensely. Sword Qi engulfed the heavens and earth. Only to see Qin Wenyin stretching his hand out and grabbing onto the hilt of the demon's sword as he spoke in a low voice. "You said that you hated the fact that the heavens are too low. Now that you have already broken through to the immortal realms, I will also step into the immortal realm. I hope you won't disappoint me." As the sound of his voice faded, Qin Wenyin slashed out with his sword. Instantly, the demon's sword swept through the air as a supreme beam of sword light tore apart the void. The experts of the Dongshengshan Gate all took out their immortal ranked weapons to defend. A beam of light that could lacerate everything shot up into the sky, directly tearing apart the barrier created by the battle formation in the void. One of the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate took out a gigantic yellow bell that shone with dazzling runic light. The bell floated in the air as a terrifying sound wave engulfed the area, causing Qin Wendian's body to shudder. It was as though there were bolts of lightning coursing through his body, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. This was the threat of immortal ranked weapons. All of them were celestial phenomenon ascendants. They had yet to break through to the immortal realm. An attack from an immortal ranked weapon could threaten their lives. In fact, there might even be a scenario where both sides died because both sides had no way to defend against the power of the immortal ranked weapon. Luckily, these people didn't control immortal energy and had no way to unleash the full might of the immortal ranked weapon. If not, their situation would be even more dire. Chapter 965. Qin Wenyin brandished the demon sword and abruptly stepped into the air. Resplendent immortal light erupted forth from the demon sword, resembling an immortal river from the 9 heavens that gushed upwards. Numerous beams of sword light tore through the air, transforming into the shadow of a heavenly rock. With a thunderous boom, the gigantic ancient bell was blasted into the air. The person controlling the bell coughed out a mouthful of blood as his heart trembled violently. Clearly, he had no way to control the bell. A pair of phoenix wings appeared on Namhuang Yunshi's body as boundless immortal light circulated around her. She was like a goddess from the 9 heavens, unexcelled in this world, incomparably beautiful. Bzz. The phoenix wings expanded, enveloping Qin Wenyin as well. A moment later, Qin Wentian's body shimmered with a fiery immortal light as a layer of immortal armor appeared around him. Let's disperse their formation first. Nanfeng Yunxi spoke. A moment later, her phoenix wings flapped, arcing through the air in an incomparably resplendent arc. She brought Qin Wentian with her as they directly landed before the ancient ape formation. A feather of the ancient phoenix that contained a towering might appeared in her hands. This feather contained an incomparably powerful might. She waved it in front of her as a red light engulfed the entire space. Many people in the city of ancient emperors were descendants of immortal kings and emperors, but there was still a disparity between them. The higher one's status was, the stronger the treasures they possessed. Namhuang Yunxi was a descendant of the Southern Phoenix matriarch of the Namhuang clan. She naturally would have many powerful treasures on her. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't miss out on this opportunity. The demon sword in his hand slashed out violently as a destructive sword might gushed forth. The experts of the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect all took out their immortal-ranked weapons to defend, forming a fearsome screen of immortal light. However, their formation was still broken apart by the force of the attack. Brothers of the Qin sect, kill your way out. Qin Wentian roared. The experts of the Qin sect all used their immortal-ranked weapons to attack in different directions. In just a short instant, the entire space was thrown into chaos as destructive currents filled the air. A pitch-black devil saber appeared in Mo Xie's hands. He was like a devil as he stepped out, dashing towards Little Rascal. Qing'er stepped on the void leaf and instantly appeared beside Little Rascal. A powerful screen of void light enveloped Little Rascal. Little Rascal's body shrank as it leaped into Qing'er's embrace like an ordinary pet. Boom! Mo Xie's devil saber slashed downwards, and a black tribulation light descended from the heavens. It was as though doomsday had arrived, and the heavens and earth turned gray. Chi-chi! The terrifying devil saber slashed into the screen of void light, penetrating it bit by bit. Boundless destructive energy ravaged everything within, wanting to destroy everything. Only to see Qing'er stretching out her palm as a golden lotus bloomed. As the petals opened and closed, a resplendent light radiated forth, destroying the energy of the devil saber. The void leaf retreated, arriving beside Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian as it spoke. Enter. Their silhouettes flashed as they entered. Mo Xie furrowed his brows, feeling that something was amiss. This daughter of the Evergreen Immortal Sect had a void-type treasure. It would be extremely difficult for them to chase after her. On the other side, although Qin Wentian and Namhuang Yunxi both had powerful immortal-ranked weapons, they couldn't defend against the overwhelming number of enemies. Numerous attacks rained down on them, forcing them to retreat unceasingly. Cracks appeared on the protective screen of void light, as though it would shatter at any moment. The void leaf shuttled through space, directly enveloping Qin Wentian and Namhuang Yunxi within it. After that, it transformed into a beam of light that soared up into the sky. Stop him! A thunderous roar rang out. Countless immortal-ranked weapons blasted towards the protective screen of void light, causing the space within to tremble violently. Qing'er, Qin Wentian and the others were all trembling violently. Qing'er even coughed out a mouthful of blood as her countenance paled. Boom! An intense beam of light shot out as the void leaf directly vanished from this space. It was as though it had truly accomplished the void shuttling, appearing in the air in the blink of an eye. Come up! At this moment, an expert from the Dongshengshan Gate shouted. An ancient void sail appeared as the experts from the Dongshengshan Gate all stepped onto it. Rays of celestial light blossomed from the ancient void sail and shot forward crazily. They were like rays of light that locked onto the spatial leaf in front of them. After that, they also turned into rays of light and chased after the leaf. Mo Xie's countenance changed. The devil saber in his hand flew out, and with a stomp of his foot, he landed on it. Instantly, the devil's saber shot out explosively, resembling a black bolt of lightning. The experts from the Qin sect all froze when they saw Qin Wentian and the others drawing the army away. After which, Su Ruxue commanded, "Let's retreat." As the sound of her voice faded, the experts from the Qin sect all departed. Without Mo Xie to lead the evil palace, There was no one else to fight against the experts from the Qin sect. Zi Daoyang's eyes flickered with uncertainty when he saw this scene. As expected of a spatial treasure, he didn't know if the experts from the Dongshengshan Gate would be able to catch up to them. Daoyang Gij, what's in the depths of the underworld mountains? Xiao Lingyue asked Zi Daoyang. Zi Daoyang's gaze froze. Ever since the inheritances of the two ancient emperors appeared, everyone thought that the secrets of the underworld mountains had been revealed. No one bothered to think about what would be in the depths of the underworld mountains. This was the mindset of humans. Since the inheritances of the two ancient emperors had appeared, the secrets of the underworld mountains had already been revealed. Who would still want to continue exploring? However, Xiao Lingyue's words caused Zi Daoyang's heart to tremble. Could there be other reasons for the battle between the two ancient emperors? Could there be other secrets hidden in the depths of the underworld mountains? Staring at the direction in which Qing'er and the experts from the Dongshengshan Gate were heading, Zi Daoyang couldn't help but wonder if there were others who had entered the depths of the underworld mountains before. Could there be other secrets hidden in this vast mountain range? Daoyang Gij, Xiao Lingyue called out. Zi Daoyang stared at her as he replied, Lingyue, I have to temporarily recover from my injuries before preparing to enter the depths of the underworld mountains. I've never been there before. Okay, I'll accompany Daoyang Gij then, Xiao Lingyue called out. She didn't seem like the cold and arrogant woman she was back when she was the sect leader of the Shao sect. This caused the disciples behind her to sigh in their hearts. No matter how arrogant a woman was, in front of Zidong, how could she not be so obedient? This was the treatment given to people with different statuses. On the void leaf, Qin Wenyin held onto Qing'er's hand. When he saw the blood trickling down the corner of Qing'er's mouth, he stretched out his hand and gently wiped it away. I'm fine. Qing'er spoke in a melodious voice as she smiled at Qin Wenyin. She was incomparably beautiful. If Qing'er was like this during normal times, Qin Wenyin would definitely be overjoyed. But right now, there was only rage in his heart. The 300 disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, he would definitely make them pay the price. Qin Wenyin lightly replied. His hand was tightly holding onto Qing'er's dainty hand as he stared ahead. The vast mountain range seemed to stretch on endlessly, desolate and desolate. Let alone humans, not even birds or beasts could be seen. The city of ancient emperors was extremely mysterious. There were ruins left behind by ancient emperors, and there were also ancient emperors contending for supremacy here. There were simply too many secrets hidden in this vast land. They're still following us. At this moment, Nam Huang Yunxi spoke. Qin Wenyin turned his head and stared in the distance. There he saw a gigantic void sail moving as fast as lightning, locking onto the void leaf. Even if he used spatial shuttles to traverse a vast distance, he still couldn't shake it off. This should be a treasure prepared by the Dongxing Heaven Emperor for the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate. It's precisely to prevent you from fleeing. Nam Huang Yunxi stared at Qin Wenyin. Since the Dongxing Heaven Emperor gave the order to kill Qin Wenyin, how could he allow Qin Wenyin to walk out of the city of ancient emperors alive? Seems like if I don't die, it would be equivalent to smacking Eastern Sage's face. In that case, not only must I live well, I must ensure that the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate won't be able to leave this place alive. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a terrifying coldness. As long as he couldn't kill him this time around, he would slowly play with these disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate. The void leaf continued shuttling forward, traversing an unknown distance. Time flowed by, but they were still on the mountain range, as though there was no end to this space. The depths of the underworld mountains are actually so vast? Qin Wentian's heart trembled. Back then, when they traveled from the underworld mountains to the inner regions of the city of ancient emperors, it only took them a short period of time to reach their destination. This vast mountain range was many times more vast compared to the inner regions of the city of ancient emperors. Maybe there's something in this vast mountain range. Nam Huang Yunxi spoke in a low voice. The group of them continued shuttling through the void, and it was unknown how far they had traveled. However, the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were still chasing after them. Within this vast mountain range, Qin Wendian and the others spent a total of 9 days shuttling through it. Even if they were in the inner regions of the city of ancient emperors, it was unknown how many regions they had traversed. Such a vast region was truly terrifying. What's that ahead? At that moment, the crowd saw an illusory figure appearing in the sky in front of them. It was a little blurry. They continued forward and finally, as they got closer, their vision gradually became clearer. They saw a city in the sky, floating high up in the air. It was like a city that towered over the heavens. It was a place where deities resided. It had supreme might. And below them, there was a passageway that led upwards, leading to that floating city. That's... Namhuang Yunshi's beautiful eyes flashed with shock. A floating city had actually appeared in the city of ancient emperors. She instantly recalled some of the ancient records regarding the city of ancient emperors. It was rumored that during ancient times, the ancient emperors would fight for supremacy here. It was said that the reason for this was because of some sort of qualification. And the most crucial part of the ancient records was the floating city. This mysterious floating city was unknown to the later generations, and they had no way of confirming its existence. However, from the looks of it now, the records in the ancient records were all true. There really was a floating city here, and this was also the main reason why the ancient emperors gathered in the city of ancient emperors. Do you know what this place is? Qin Wendian asked Namhuang Yunshi. An antiquity city. The ancient emperors gathered in the city of ancient emperors because of this place. No one knows what's inside, Namhuang Yunshi mumbled. The eyes of Qin Wendian and the others all gleamed with sharpness. Chapter 966. The Antiquity City. Qin Wendian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. He was also filled with curiosity about the city of ancient emperors. This city contained the ruins of ancient emperors, and without permission, even immortal kings and emperors wouldn't be able to enter. It was truly terrifying. When the Emperor Qianbian sent him here, a black dragon appeared, shaking the entire sea region. This black dragon seemed to be the protector of the city of ancient emperors. Why would such a terrifying demon emperor protect this place? Whose orders did he follow? The city of ancient emperors was located in the central region of the immortal realms. Countless geniuses gathered here, generation after generation. Also, he faintly heard that this city of ancient emperors didn't only have a single level. There were other regions as well. All of these proved how extraordinary the city of ancient emperors was. Should we go or not? Qin Wendian's eyes flashed as he asked. Naturally, the antiquity city appearing before our eyes is extremely rare. The people from the Dongshangshan Gate would also descend. I'm afraid this place would soon appear in the vision of the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. We mustn't miss out on this opportunity. Namhuang Yunshi's eyes blazed with passion. As a descendant of the Southern Phoenix matriarch, how could she not go and investigate the antiquity city? Right. Qin Wendian nodded. He too had an intense desire to explore the antiquity city in the air. The void leaf shuttled through the air, heading towards the ancient pathway leading to the immortal palace in the sky. This pathway was akin to an ancient great Tao, and at the instant Qin Wendian and the others descended, boundless runic light cascaded down, exuding a supreme might. Qin Er's countenance changed. She immediately kept the void leaf as the group of them landed on the ancient pathway. What's going on? Qin Wendian's expression froze. This pathway seems to contain law energy. It doesn't allow the void leaf to travel through it. Qin Er spoke in a low voice. The group of them observed the pathway. It was like a path of pilgrimage, leading to the heavens. Let's go up. Qin Wendian and his companions followed this ancient path that led up to the sky. Boundless runic light illuminated the ancient path, and there seemed to be a strange energy enveloping them. This energy seeped into their bodies, containing the formless might of the great Tao, cleansing their bodies. Qin Wendian only felt that his body was suddenly filled with a powerful energy. It was as though all the astral energy he had consumed and his injuries were completely healed in an instant. His aura became even more exuberant. This The others also discovered the abnormality. Even little rascal's eyes flickered with a bright light. What a strong power! Qin Wenyan was shocked. His whole body was full of power, and he had recovered to his peak. Behind them, the people from the Dongshengshan Gate chased after them. Their ancient sails floated in the air as they inclined their heads and stared at the sky. Their hearts trembled. There was actually an ancient city in the city of ancient emperors. The supreme might it exuded made it seem like a divine residence, a place where divinities resided. Qin Wenyan and his companions who were on the ancient path halted their steps. There seemed to be a strange might sweeping over them, giving Qin Wenyan a sense of danger. He stopped them and spoke in a low voice. This path has healed our injuries. But since this is the antiquity city, it wouldn't be so easy to enter. There might be dangers ahead. Everyone be careful. Everyone nodded. Powerful auras gushed forth from them, enveloping their bodies as they advanced cautiously. Qin Wenyan took the lead and stepped out. But after a few steps, a surge of might from the great Tao bore down on him. His body trembled violently as a supreme tribulation might bore down on him. His body felt like it was about to shatter as a destructive might ravaged his body. Calamity facing path. An ancient voice rang out in the ears of everyone, causing their hearts to tremble. This ancient path was the calamity facing path. If one wanted to enter the antiquity city, they would have to face the tribulation first. Qin Wenyan's body was clad in a sky devil armor. Boundless runic light circulated around him, giving him an indestructible body. The terrifying might bore down unceasingly, wanting to destroy everything, unceasingly attacking every part of Qin Wenyan's body. Rumbling sounds rang out from his body as his blood surged, preparing to face the calamity on the ancient path. Namhuang Yunshi's entire body was bathed in flames. A pair of phoenix wings covered her as she swept through the air. Little Rascal let out a heaven-shaking roar, transforming into a baleful greater demon as demonic chi towered up into the sky. Jun Mingchen was clad in an emperor armor, unexcelled in the world. He carried the blue sky on his back, resisting the tribulation might. Zi Qingshuan's body shimmered with the light of a divine falcon as she screeched, exuding terrifying might. Hua Taishu directly coughed out a mouthful of blood. His physique was the weakest among these people. He had the samsara eyes, an incomparably resolute will, and was proficient in illusions. However, his physique was extremely weak. When he faced the tribulation, his body couldn't withstand it and he coughed out blood. "Can you endure it?" Qin Wenyan stared at Hua Taishu as he asked. "No worries." Hua Taishu's eyes flickered with the samsara light, incomparably resolute and filled with a fearsome tenacity. He had once experienced such tempering in the world of reincarnation and it wouldn't be able to destroy his will. Qin Wenyan nodded. He continued forward, facing the tribulation. He didn't expect that the path leading to the antiquity city would be so difficult. The destructive might unceasingly gushed into Qin Wenyan's body. Although he had already condensed a unique physique, he still felt that his body was on the verge of collapse. It was as though his body was about to be crushed by the destructive particles. What a terrifying force! Qin Wenyan resisted the destructive might, accompanying them step by step. At the back, Hua Taishu had already coughed out an unknown amount of blood. He was the one in the most miserable state. Next was Zi Qingshan. The divine falcon light around her was on the verge of shattering and her body was covered in blood. But when she saw Qin Wenyan and the others still resolutely leading the way, an intense determination flashed in Zi Qingshuan's eyes. She gritted her teeth and didn't utter a single sound. After Zi Qingshan roamed the immortal realms together with Qin Wenyan, the people around Qin Wenyan were all extremely outstanding geniuses. She became the weakest and this was the knot in Zi Qingshuan's heart. She didn't want the distance between them to grow further and further apart. Hence, her will had to be even more resolute. Qin wasn't in a good state either. Her body was protected by a magnificent lotus but she was still injured several times. Namhuang Yunshi was the most beautiful among them. Her defense was originally already extremely powerful and after being shattered several times, Her body felt as though it was on the verge of exploding. However, at this moment, an incomparably tyrannical energy seemed to be awakening within her body. Her entire body shone with a towering blood-colored light as the cry of an ancient phoenix echoed out, reforming her body. Evidently, this was the innate talent of Nam Huang Yunshi. The blood of the ancient phoenix allowed her to undergo nirvanic rebirth. Behind them, the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate also followed behind. There were many of them, and all of them were demon-level geniuses selected by the Dongshengshan Gate from the various prefectures. But if they were to fight against Qin Wentian's group alone, there wouldn't be many who could be mentioned in the same breath as them. Hence, only a few tens of people could advance. The others could only choose to retreat after trying, feeling reluctance in their hearts. Not only that, those tens of people were also hesitating. If they followed Qin Wentian's group to Void City, would they still be able to defeat Qin Wentian's group? However, the scene in front of them was too shocking. A deity had appeared in the void. How could they miss it? Several days later, Qin Wentian's group endured incomparably intense pain, but they still maintained their vigilance, not allowing their will to dissipate. If their will dissipated, they would definitely be killed by the tribulation energy. There were already 2 people from the Dongshengshan Gate who died on the path of tribulation, shaking the hearts of others. This path was incomparably dangerous, let alone the fact that this was merely the entrance. If they wanted to reach Void City, they had to pass through this path of tribulation. 9 days later, Qin Wentian's group finally arrived at the end of the path of tribulation. Without the destructive energy, Qin Wenin and the others were all incomparably fatigued. Zi Qingxian even directly fainted, collapsing on the ancient path. As for Hua Taishu, he sat powerlessly on the ground, his entire body drained of energy. His eyes slowly closed. He had completely relied on a single breath to persist till here. But at this moment, the light from the ancient path cascaded down, allowing Qin Wentian to feel a surge of recovery energy, restoring his body once more. After that mysterious energy circulated through his body several times, Qin Wentian felt that his physique was even stronger than before. Hua Taishu also gradually recovered his strength. Zi Qingxian also woke up. They walked past a screen of light, and a moment later, a flash of light appeared before their eyes as they stood in front of a primordial city. This place was ancient and majestic. This place was sacred and not to be profaned. Inclining his head, Qin Wenin stared at this primordial city as a sense of reverence appeared in his heart. He even had a faint thought of prostrating himself in worship. Such a feeling involuntarily surfaced in his heart. Qin Wenin turned his head and glanced at the people of Dongshengshan Gate who were still on the path of tribulation as a cold light flashed in his eyes. This time around, the people of Dongshengshan Gate didn't manage to kill him. These people would definitely pay a heavy price. Are these all ancient demonic beasts? Nam Huang Yunshi mumbled, staring at the carvings of demonic beasts on the walls of the primordial city. These carvings were extremely vivid and lifelike, causing one to fall into a trance just by looking at them. These demonic beasts included Taorai, Hundun, Qiongqi, Taowu, etc. All of them were supreme greater demons, incomparably baleful and tyrannical. The gate of the primordial city was wide open, but no one could see the situation inside. Only an intense energy fluctuation could be felt from within, and nobody knew what would happen if they stepped inside. I'll go in first, you guys wait outside. Qin Wentian spoke. No. Qing'er immediately replied. Her slender hands directly grabbed onto Qin Wentian's hand as her watery eyes stared at Qin Wenin, worried for his safety. I'll go in as well. Qing'er spoke in a low voice. Little rascal and I have a telepathic connection. After I enter, he'll be able to sense what I've experienced. If there's no danger to my life, you guys can enter again. Qin Wentian spoke. Qing'er shook her head, but she still held onto Qin Wentian's hand, not letting go. This caused Qin Wentian to have a bitter smile on his face. Qing'er spoke again. You go, I'll go as well. Okay, let's go in together then. Qin Wentian couldn't do anything to Qing'er and could only agree. After that, he held onto Qing'er's hand and walked out of the gate. Instantly, They felt as though they were shuttling through a world of nothingness. This world of nothingness was like an ancient world, filled with countless terrifying greater demons. With a booming sound, Qin Wenyan and Qing'er appeared on a battle platform in a world of nothingness. Rumbling sounds shook the heavens and earth as two greater demons appeared before them. This primordial city was actually protected by greater demons. Chapter 967. What is this place? Qin Wenyan surveyed his surroundings. It was as though he was standing on an ancient battle platform in a world of nothingness. Two greater demons appeared before him, exuding terrifying might. One of the greater demons was none other than the primordial ferocious beast Swanni. It had the face of a human and the body of a tiger, exuding a fearsome aura of resentment. It was like the incarnation of death, giving off the impression of an extremely vicious greater demon. Just a single glance at it would cause people to feel terror. As for the other greater demon, it was a gigantic demon with two horns. It resembled a berserk ox but had dragon horns on its head. Its hooves were incomparably thick and sturdy, and it stood there like a human. Its sharp claws seemed to be able to tear humans apart. Qing'er, be careful. Qin Wenyan's aura circulated. Two greater demons appeared. Could it be because of him and Qing? The Swanni brandished its trident. It was as though it was born from the convergence of boundless death qi. Its silhouette flashed as a ferocious might shook the entire battle platform, instantly transforming this space into hell. The trident of death blasted out explosively as the energy of hell manifested, causing a blood-colored glow to envelop the entire battle platform. Qing'er's body was enveloped by a pure and holy lotus. Spatial light radiated from her, gushing towards the Swanni ahead. At the same time, she stabbed out with her finger, causing spatial energy to transform into sharp swords that slashed towards the Swanni. Rumble, the incomparably tyrannical trident smashed over, destroying everything in its path. It was like a symbol of death. Qin Wenyan's god's hand appeared as a terrifying light circulated around him. When he stepped out, the heavens and earth rumbled as boundless runic light circulated in the air. His constellation flashed, causing the entire battle platform to become incomparably resplendent. Lifting his palm, Qin Wenyan blasted out with God's hand. The gigantic palm imprint contained a fearsome might. The Swanni's trident slammed into it as a supreme destructive might gushed forth, shattering the gigantic palm imprint. Qin Wenyan could clearly feel the ferocious might exuding from his opponent. Boom! At this moment, the gigantic body of the greater demon with dragon horns stepped out, causing the entire battle platform to tremble unceasingly. Both his hands grabbed out, instantly appearing before Qin Wenyan, wanting to grab hold of Qin Wenyan and tear him apart. Qin Wenyan lifted his god's hand and blasted out in rage. The hands of the greater demon with dragon horns contained boundless might, forcibly breaking apart God's hand. After that, the two gigantic hands grabbed Qin Wenyan. The power contained within it was unblockable. This was the power of a greater demon. Roar! A thunderous roar rang out. The greater demon wanted to tear Qin Wenyan's body apart. However, rumbling sounds rang out as Qin Wenyan's body grew incomparably gigantic. His entire body flowed with boundless light as white runic inscriptions flowed around him, enveloping his entire body. That fearsome greater demon's might didn't manage to tear Qin Wenyan apart, but it still caused Qin Wenyan to feel incomparable agony, as though his body was about to be torn apart. Roar! The greater demon let out a heaven-shaking roar. His incomparably baleful eyes stared at Qin Wenyan, radiating an ancient baleful aura. The runic light on Qin Wenyan's body circulated frenziedly, containing a fearsome suppression might that gushed forth. That greater demon actually retreated a step, after which Qin Wenyan's god's hand transformed into the sharp talons of a great rock, capable of lacerating everything. Terrifying runic light flashed as God's hand slammed into the gigantic body of the greater demon. With a deafening boom, the chest of the greater demon was torn apart. Roar, roar! The greater demon let out a heaven-shaking howl. Its incomparably baleful palms slashed out once more, grabbing towards Qin Wenyan. Qin Wentian's god's hand could suppress everything. With a lift of his palms, there was nothing it couldn't destroy. One man and one demon collided madly, the impact shaking the heavens and earth. The illusory battle platform shook violently. Qin Wenyan discovered that the cultivation base of this greater demon should be the same as him, while the cultivation base of the Swanee was the same as Qin. It was as though the two of them had appeared and were fighting against each other on this illusory battle platform. At this moment, a buzzing sound rang out. On the illusory battle platform, the silhouettes of Nam Huang Yunqi and the others appeared one after another. And at the same time they appeared, a few more fearsome greater demons walked out from the void as a wave of ferocious might swept over everything. Boom, boom! These greater demons instantly lunged out, killing their way towards Nam Huang Yunqi and the others. Nam Huang Yunqi's body instantly erupted with terrifying flames. She who was clad in phoenix wings was incomparably beautiful as the shadow of the ancient phoenix appeared. With a wave of her hands, the phoenix shadow roared as it rushed out, fighting against a greater demon at the peak level of celestial phenomenon. This greater demon was a black-colored ferocious bird of prey, and its entire body was shrouded in a terrifying aura of death. The entire illusory battle platform was in an uproar. Even Little Rascal had attracted the attention of a greater demon. He too transformed into a greater demon and fought against the greater demon. Such a chaotic battle isn't our advantage. Let's join forces and fight together. The Southern Phoenix sect and I will be the main attackers. Qing, and Hua Taishu will restrict us while Qingxian, Mengchen and Little Rascal will engage in guerrilla warfare. Qin Wentian roared. A moment later, the 6 humans and 1 demon retreated to a certain location. Qin Wenyan and Nam Huang Yunqi stood in the middle. Qing stood beside Qin Wenyan while Hua Taishu stood beside Nam Huang Yunqi. Jun Mengchen, Zi Qingxian and Little Rascal stood on the left and right respectively. Qir's black hair fluttered in the wind. Boundless void energy radiated from her body, transforming into millions of runic lights that formed a prison, enveloping the space in front of her. Hua Taishu's samsara eyes were incomparably demonic. The demonic beasts at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon were instantly dazed as they howled in frenzy. Qin Wentian's physique was incomparably gigantic. A heaven-shaking long spear appeared in his god's hand, formed from countless runic lights. The tip of the spear shone with a white light as demonic qi towered up into the sky, exuding a supreme suppressive might that could destroy the heavens and earth. Jun Mengchen, Zi Qingxian and Little Rascal attacked from the side, directly launching their most violent attacks. These greater demons all had incomparable fleshly bodies. Ordinary attacks wouldn't be able to harm them in the slightest. Towering flames erupted forth from Nam Huang Yunqi's body as she directly rushed towards the greater demons. Qin Wentian's 100-meter-long body directly stabbed out with his spear. His target was an 8th-level ascendant greater demon. That greater demon was currently in a state of frenzy, and when the long spear shot over, it let out an earth-shattering howl. However, the destructive spear shone with dazzling runic light, directly penetrating through the greater demon's body, ignoring all defenses and piercing right into it. The destructive energy instantly gushed into the greater demon's body, shattering everything. With a thunderous boom, that greater demon was directly transformed into nothingness, vanishing from sight. What a powerful attack! Nam Huang Yunqi's countenance stiffened, but her attacks didn't slow down at all. Qin Wentian's god's hand once again unleashed a terrifying attack, piercing through another greater demon and directly destroying it. Even if it was a supreme greater demon on the same level as him, if it was struck by his terrifying attack, it would still be instantly killed. Although these greater demons were powerful, they were still fighting in a chaotic manner and didn't have any teamwork. Under the joint attacks of Qin Wenyan and the others, all of them were annihilated one after another. Finally, all of them vanished from the void battle platform. These greater demons are so powerful. If they didn't cooperate and fought alone, only peak-level experts would have a chance to defeat them. Nam Huang Yunqi spoke in a low voice. Qin Wenyan and the others nodded in agreement. Luckily we came in early. If not, if we came in after senior brother Qin and the others finished their battle, it would be even more difficult for us to fight against them. Jun Mingchen spoke in a low voice. As the sound of his voice faded, the void battle platform was suddenly enveloped by a bright light. The intense light enveloped all of them, and with a thunderous boom, the entire battle platform vanished from sight. Qin Wenin and the others also vanished along with it. When Qin Wenin and the others reappeared, they were already standing on the ground. Their feet seemed to have been nailed to the ground, not moving at all. They stared at this space as great waves of shock rose in their hearts. This was the true city of the ancients. Under the starry sky, even after countless years, they could still feel the majestic aura of the city of the ancients. However, other than being ancient, the city of the ancients was also dilapidated, as though it had gone through severe damage. Over the countless years, it was likely that many powerful figures had come here and even fought here. Not far away from them, a splashing sound rang out. Qin Wenin and the others turned their gazes over and saw a pool of blood. This pool of blood seemed to have sensed their auras as the blood within actually started to churn. Faintly, they could see countless blood-colored runic inscriptions flashing within, giving off a fearsome feeling. This is the blood of a powerful expert. It hasn't dried up for countless years and remains here, turning into a pool of blood. It still possesses terrifying power. Namhuang Yunshi stared at the blood pool as her heart trembled. This blood pool, for those with weaker cultivation bases, can even be used to cleanse their bodies. It's just that I don't know if their bodies and bloodlines would be able to withstand the power of the blood pool. After stepping into the immortal foundation realm, one would be able to reconstruct their body. Let alone immortal emperors. Their entire bodies contained boundless essence energy. Their bones were rune bones and their blood contained terrifying bloodline power. At that level, unless they were destroyed by someone stronger, their body would never rot and their blood wouldn't dry up. Little Rascal's silhouette flashed as his gigantic body rushed into the blood pool. Roar! A fearsome roar erupted from his mouth as the blood pool in his body began to boil. Terrifying blood-colored runes gushed into his body, wanting to refine his entire body. His gigantic body was enveloped in an intense blood-colored light. A terrifying whirlpool of energy appeared. Little Rascal opened his mouth as traces of blood-colored energy were actually sucked into his mouth. He's using the inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor to devour the energy within the blood pool. Namhuang Yunshi's eyes flashed. Little Rascal's physique was extremely terrifying, yet it felt as though it was on the verge of shattering apart. His entire body was enduring an incomparably fearsome pain as blood runes appeared all over his body. However, he still endured it, allowing the energy to corrode his body. After that, his body shone with a bright light, becoming even more crystalline. Little Rascal has also matured. A look of joy appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Little Rascal was gradually approaching maturity. Chapter 968. The group of them stood at the side, waiting for Little Rascal. Little Rascal's body continued to transform, as though he was reborn. His gigantic body exuded an even more fearsome aura, exuding the aura of a demon king. Nanfeng, your knowledge is vast. What sort of place is this antiquity city exactly? Qin Wendian stared at Namhuang Yunshi as he asked. The Namhuang clan was an extremely ancient and powerful clan in the immortal realms. After countless eras, the Namhuang clan had many ancient scrolls that recorded the events of the ancient era. Hence, as a princess of the Namhuang clan, Namhuang Yunshi, her knowledge was extremely vast. Maybe it has something to do with the experts of the ancient era. This isn't something that I can come into contact with. Maybe the immortal emperors of the immortal realms would know some inside information. Namhuang Yunshi spoke in a low voice. After all, she was still a junior. Although her cultivation base at the peak of celestial phenomenon wasn't weak, she had yet to become an immortal. In the immortal realms, she basically couldn't be considered anything. Hence, the Namhuang clan wouldn't allow her to know too many ancient secrets. Qin Wendian didn't probe further. They waited for a period of time and little rascal finally walked out from the blood pool. His entire body seemed to have undergone a transformation. His muscles, bones, blood, and flesh were even more terrifying than before. Little rascal howled in rage as his eyes gleamed with excitement. "Let's go ahead and take a look." Qin Wentian spoke. The group of them continued moving forward. The antiquity city under the starry skies was ancient and mysterious. A broken saber was stabbed into the ground, exuding a terrifying devilish might. The surroundings of the broken saber were filled with a towering saber chi field that engulfed the heavens and earth, as though it could slash apart all existences. Qin Wentian and the others could only cast a glance at it from afar. The moment they neared it, they felt as though their bodies were about to be severed. Such a treasure had its own spirituality, they couldn't even get close to it, let alone take it for themselves. The broken saber whimpered from time to time, as if it was crying. Qin Wentian and the others walked far away, but they could still feel the sorrow of the saber. From afar, the sound of the seats being moved rang out. The sound wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally pleasing to the ears. The gazes of everyone turned towards a certain direction, and after that, their expressions froze. There was actually a celestial river there, and from the heavens, there were beams of light cascading down. These beams of light were like liquid, yet also like boundless runic light, like a waterfall of flowing water, cleansing this entire world. The instant the beams of light landed on the ground, they vanished. Is this the heavenly river? Zi Qingshuan's heart trembled as they flew in that direction. Nam Huang Yunxi stared at the boundless runic light, as well as the waterfall of light that vanished the instant they landed on the ground. Her heart pounded rapidly as she felt her breathing getting hurried. Qin Wentian could sense the strangeness of Nam Huang Yunxi. He stared at her and asked, "Nan Feng, do you know what this is?" "I've once seen such a scene in an extremely ancient text. However, it's merely a diagram, it's far from being as real as this. We've encountered a divine miracle." Nam Huang Yunxi's voice was filled with solemnity. In the legends, there's a divine light cascading down from the 9 heavens, cleansing and purifying the bodies of mortals. If I'm not wrong, this should be the legendary sacred luminance. The sacred luminance may seem liquid, but it's actually divine light. It exists in the void, there's no way to grab it or bring it away. The sacred luminance is able to cleanse the mortal body, causing one to undergo a transformation, stimulating their potential. The stronger one is, the greater the benefits they would have when encountering the sacred luminance. This is because stellar martial cultivators, as their cultivation base grows stronger, they would also be able to unlock their own potential, allowing them to be more flexible. Immortal emperors and immortal kings all have incomparably terrifying potential. If the sacred luminance descends upon them, they would undergo a transformation and become supreme immortal kings and emperors. Nam Huang Yunxi mumbled. She then sighed in admiration, "Sadly, I can't bring it away. I have no way to bring the sacred luminance out. If not, the Nam Huang clan might even become the strongest power in the immortal realms." So terrifying? Qin Wentian's expression froze. This antiquity city actually had the sacred luminance. Sadly, it was located in the city of ancient emperors, and it was extremely difficult to find it. Qin Wentian's expression froze. To put it bluntly, if the sacred luminance appeared outside the immortal realms, it would definitely cause a huge commotion in the immortal realms. Nam Huang Yunxi's beautiful eyes stared ahead. To think that we would actually have such luck. Although we are only at the celestial phenomenon realm and don't have the boundless potential of immortal kings and emperors, we are still at the stage of breaking through to the immortal realm. Now that we can bathe in the sacred luminance, it would be much easier for us to break through to the immortal realm in the future. Let's go up and give it a try. Jun Mingchen impatiently spoke. Be careful, the sacred luminance is a type of divine light. It's a legendary holy object. However, I don't know if there's any danger to it. It's best to be more cautious. Nam Huang Yunxi reminded. Qin Wentian nodded. Nan Feng is right, this is the legendary ancient holy light. Be careful. Everyone got closer as they spoke. The closer they got to the sacred luminance, the more they felt it to be divine. The sacred light cascading down from the sky, how powerful would it be exactly? It could even cause immortal kings and emperors to go crazy. I'll go in and give it a try. Qin Wentian spoke. His aura gushed forth as intense light circulated around him. After that, he took a step forward and directly rushed into the sacred luminance. Boundless runic light descended upon him, instantly engulfing Qin Wentian. Ah! A miserable shriek sounded out, causing Qin, Nam Huang Yunxi, and the others' expressions to change drastically. Especially Qing'e. Her face paled, and her heart pounded. She was about to rush out to see Nam Huang Yunxi when Qing'e grabbed her arm and said, "Wait." Qing'e halted and stared ahead only to see the boundless light cascading downwards, corroding Qin Wentian's body. In just an instant, his perfect body was riddled with holes, as though he had no way to endure this primordial divine light. Be careful, the sacred luminance will destroy the original balance of your body. Qin Wentian roared. Nam Huang Yunxi and the others all had solemn expressions on their faces as they slowly walked forward. Qin Wentian stood in the air, bathing in the light of the sacred luminance. That unceasingly gushing energy into his body broke the balance of his body. It seemed that things weren't as simple as he had imagined. The sacred luminance could directly stimulate his potential. Basking in the light of the sacred luminance, he had to depend on himself for everything. Just this terrifying pain alone was sufficient to cause one's will to crumble, causing them to faint. Qin Wentian gritted his teeth as the energy in his body gushed forth frenziedly. After being destroyed, he was reborn. The power of the bloodline in his body surged as boundless astral energy transformed into a river of stars. The light of the sacred luminance seeped into his blood, into his bones. Ugh! The others all stepped into the sacred luminance as they screamed in agony. Evidently, they had experienced the same thing as Qin Wentian. However, these people were all geniuses with extremely strong wills. They gritted their teeth and endured. If their wills weren't strong enough, this sacred luminance that could cleanse their body of essence would most probably turn into a deathly light that could take away their lives. Numerous silhouettes floated in the air, bathing in the light of the sacred luminance. Their bodies were convulsing unceasingly. One could tell that they were in extreme pain. However, all of them were extremely cautious. Even if they couldn't divert their attention, at the very least, they were able to protect their wills from being extinguished. This kind of pain persisted. Their bodies seemed to have been destroyed time and time again, and were reborn time and time again. Qin Wentian's consciousness looked into his body, only to see that there seemed to be a mysterious power within his bloodline. His blood was incomparably pure and the power of his bloodline was frenziedly roaring. His muscles and bones were even more terrifyingly resilient than before. His skin was as smooth as jade, as though it had undergone a transformation. His entire body was glowing with a mysterious light. Roar, roar. An earth-shattering roar of rage rang out from within Qin Wentian's body, as though the shadow of a primordial demonic demon had appeared. It was extremely terrifying, enveloping Qin Wentian's body. There was also an incomparably mysterious pure white energy within. This energy was something that even Qin Wentian had never touched before. It was able to heal all injuries within one's body, and could even be reborn when one was on the brink of death. However, it also possessed a terrifying destructive power. It was impervious to all poisons, able to destroy all poisons. When used to attack, it similarly possessed a terrifying destructive power. These two types of energy were born together, circulating around Qin Wentian's body. A powerful suppressive force, as well as the energy refined by the fiend god body refinement art, gushed forth. These energies flowed through every part of Qin Wentian's body, gradually transforming into a mysterious runic light. Qin Wentian's entire body seemed to be engraved with runic inscriptions, resembling grains of divine energy. On the surface of his body, boundless runic light also flowed, unceasingly tempering his body. Rumble! Astral light erupted forth. Qin Wentian's 4 constellations appeared at the same time. boundless runic inscriptions appeared on the surface of these constellations, especially the suppressive force. That golden body of Qin Wenyin unceasingly radiated runic light, containing a supreme suppressive might within. After which, the runic light landed on Qin Wentian's body, reshaping it. Qin Wentian's body was currently undergoing a shocking transformation. Other than Qin Wenyan, Little Rascal's body was the second to undergo a transformation. He unceasingly let out heaven-shaking roars as his body grew larger and larger, exuding a baleful aura that towered up into the sky. Zi Qingshuan's condition didn't seem to be very good. She unceasingly coughed out blood, but she still gritted her teeth and endured. Her body seemed to be in danger of being destroyed at any moment. An expression of reluctance flashed in Zi Qingshuan's beautiful eyes. The sacred luminance was an ancient sacred object. It was an extremely rare opportunity for her to encounter it. However, if she couldn't withstand the baptism of the sacred luminance, how sorrowful would that be? She had to endure it no matter what, she had to. Although Zi Qingshuan's talent was slightly inferior compared to others, she was still a disciple of the heavenly talisman realm and had outstanding talent. However, she was still in such a state under the influence of the sacred luminance. From this, one could very well imagine that only those with heaven-shaking talent would be able to withstand this legendary sacred light. But once one withstood the baptism of the sacred luminance, their potential would be stimulated and they would undergo a transformation. Chapter 969. The Antiquity City was bathed in the light of the sacred luminance. Qin Wentian's body shone with resplendent runic light. Within his body, astral energy interweaved with the runic light, circulating unceasingly. At this moment, Qin Wenyan already had his own consciousness. He started to control the flow of energy within his body. Those runic inscriptions flashed madly as the violent energy congregated into terrifying sharp swords. In an instant, 1,000,000 swords hummed within his body, exuding a heaven-shaking might. After which, they circulated around his body unceasingly, as though his entire body was filled with boundless sword might. It was as though he could easily condense divine energy. This was the perfect state of the spiritual refinement method. Qin Wentian's heart trembled slightly. The energy in his body changed once more, guided by the pure and flawless second bloodline energy. Runic light flashed as numerous terrifying windrock shadows appeared within his body. Each and every windrock's divine energy contained the power of a windrock. This level of the spiritual refinement method had been cultivated to the grand completion level. It was perfect without flaws. In the air, the 4 constellations were also evolving unceasingly. The suppression annihilation constellation was akin to a divinity, unceasingly emitting millions of suppressive runes that rained down on the heavens and earth, containing the power to suppress everything. The sword slaughter constellation was transforming unceasingly, transforming into sword runic light. When it descended from the sky, a supreme sword might could be felt, capable of annihilating all existences with a single strike. The demon constellation manifested numerous supreme greater demons, causing the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. The Dreamworld constellation, that wondrous dream force, also grew stronger and stronger. The most obvious change was still Qin Wentian's physique. With the fiend god body refinement art and 2 types of bloodline energy revolving around him, he resembled a fiend god, clad in a golden white fiend god armor. Faint traces of blood-colored light could be seen as sword inscriptions appeared, as well as wind rock diagrams. It was as though he was using all sorts of energy to forge the most perfect physique for himself. Rumble! A terrifying aura towered up into the skies. The roars within Qin Wentian's body grew even more terrifying as his constellation shone with the resplendent light. His aura grew even stronger. This was a sign that he had broken through to the next level. After experiencing the baptism of the sacred luminance, Qin Wentian's cultivation base stepped into the final level of celestial phenomenon, the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. Above them were immortals. After being in the immortal realms for so many years, Qin Wenyan finally stepped into the peak of celestial phenomenon. He was only a single step away from the immortal realm he had always wanted to step into. Qin Wenyin waved his hand, and a terrifying figure appeared from within his bloodline, transforming into the silhouette of a vermilion bird. It was none other than Purgatory. Purgatory seemed to have long known what Qin Wenyin was going through. Because of Qin Wentian's bloodline, he was able to obtain the best nourishment. The moment he appeared, a towering red light radiated from him as he spun and soared up into the air. The sacred luminance cleansed his body as he bore an unyielding will, welcoming the baptism of the sacred luminance. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar rang out. Not far away, Little Rascal, who was bathing in the light of the sacred luminance, was actually enveloped by a golden halo of light. His entire body gradually turned completely golden, as though he was born from pure gold. He inclined his head towards the sky and howled as a supreme king aura gushed forth from him, akin to the king of demons. Every single strand of hair on his body turned golden, causing the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. Everyone was undergoing a transformation. Even for Zi Qingxian, she managed to endure it. Although the pain was incomparably agonizing, her will and conviction supported her. She wouldn't allow herself to fall behind again. This was an extremely rare opportunity. They came to the Antiquity City and were able to bathe in the light of the sacred luminance. How could they fail? Although she was enduring boundless pain, Zi Qingxian gritted her teeth. Her body was also gradually undergoing a transformation. The sacred luminance was the legendary ancient sacred light. Even immortal kings and emperors would view it as a supreme treasure. In this Antiquity City, when Qin Wenyin and the others encountered it, everyone's potential was stimulated to varying degrees as they underwent a transformation. It was unknown if it was because he was a demonic beast, but Little Rascal was the first to complete his transformation. He walked out of the sacred luminance and floated in the air, staring at the others. Right now, his aura was extremely terrifying, definitely at the peak level of celestial phenomenon. Also, without the baptism of the sacred luminance, his entire body felt incomparably relaxed, as though even his soul had undergone a baptism. Right at this moment, his incomparably sharp eyes swiveled around as he stared behind him, only to see a silhouette slowly walking over. This silhouette was none other than Emosia. Emosia's countenance was extremely heavy as he stared at the group of people bathing in the sacred luminance. He inclined his head and stared at the sacred light cascading down from the sky as an intense fluctuation flickered in his dark golden eyes. Is this the sacred luminance? Emosia mumbled in his heart. His feet trembled as he unceasingly advanced forward. At this moment, in his eyes, Little Rascal, who had obtained one of the inheritances of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, wasn't that important anymore. The sacred luminance was an ancient sacred light. Little Rascal's gigantic body blocked in front of Emosia as it let out a low-sounding roar. Emosia's dark golden eyes flickered with a cold light as he icily stated, "Don't worry, the inheritance in your body will definitely be mine." After speaking, Emosia dashed out, dashing towards the sacred luminance. Roar! Little Rascal's gigantic body was like a golden bolt of lightning, directly rushing towards Emosia. Golden claws abruptly slashed out, containing a might that could tear apart the heavens and earth. Emosia's eyes flickered with an extremely cold light. His entire body shone with the light of calamity as his dark golden palms blasted out explosively, shaking the heavens. A thunderous boom rang out. Both attacks were so powerful that they could destroy everything in their path. Even Emosia was forced to retreat several steps back. This scene caused Emosia's expression to sink as a brilliant light flashed in his dark golden eyes. Haha. After experiencing the baptism of the sacred luminance, you actually managed to transform. Your strength isn't inferior to mine. Emosia's voice was as cold as the edge of a blade. His Calamity Devil constellation manifested as boundless Calamity Devil energy frenziedly gushed towards Little Rascal. However, Little Rascal soared up into the air and with a howl of rage, his body transformed, transforming into a golden-winged great rock that was made from pure gold. Little Rascal had long since obtained the transformation innate technique. Now that he had undergone the baptism, His physique had undergone a transformation. When he used the transformation innate technique again, it was as though he could transform into a myriad of forms. At this moment, he was like a true golden-winged great rock, an incomparably lofty divine rock. The calamity devil light slashed over. Little Rascal used his golden wings to protect himself, and at the same time, his wings flapped violently as countless golden swords shot towards Emosia. The current Little Rascal was many times stronger compared to before. Bizazi. Emosia once again dashed towards the sacred luminance. He wasn't willing to waste time with Little Rascal. Right now, he only wanted to bathe in the holy light of the sacred luminance, cleansing his body and undergoing a transformation. A raging wind gusted by. Little Rascal's speed was simply too fast. His wings slashed out, resembling an incomparably sharp sword as they slashed towards Emosia's head. Emosia's arm transformed into a dark golden color as he abruptly smashed out, forcibly grabbing hold of the golden wings. The golden wings sliced through his dark golden palms, causing terrifying screeching sounds to echo out from the friction. Emosia roared, using all the strength in his body to fling his golden body through the air. With a thunderous boom, a supreme might gushed forth as a devil saber appeared in his hands, cleaving downwards towards Little Rascal. Little Rascal's wings flashed as he transformed into a golden bolt of lightning, evading the saber strike. Emosia didn't have the time to chase after Little Rascal. He directly stepped out, stepping into the sacred luminance. Boom. Devil might gushed forth from Emosia, engulfing the heavens and earth. Beams of calamity light shot up into the clouds. His dark golden eyes were extremely terrifying, containing an incomparably resolute will within. Little Rascal rushed to the outside of the sacred luminance, staring at Emosia who was bathing in the sacred luminance. The light of the sacred luminance contained a terrifying destructive might. It was basically impossible for Little Rascal to fight inside. If he attacked from the outside, his attacks would be disintegrated into nothingness the moment they came into contact with the sacred luminance. Hence, it was already impossible for him to stop Emosia from bathing in the sacred luminance. After that, Nam Huang Yunxi, Qing Er and Jun Mingchen all underwent their own transformations and walked out from the sacred luminance. When they saw Emosia, their countenances stiffened as their gazes turned cold. This fellow also followed them here. That illusory battle platform had a test for the greater demons. This test was able to obstruct the people of the Dongshangshan Gate, but failed to obstruct Emosia. Emosia's strength had already reached a terrifying degree. Even if he fought alone against a greater demon, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage at all. Hence he chose to come here. After Emosia bathes in the sacred luminance, his strength will grow even more terrifying. Nam Huang Yunxi spoke in a low voice. What's there to be afraid of? Me and senior brother Qin have already experienced the baptism of the sacred luminance. Right now, both of us are at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. Unless he steps into the immortal realm, it's impossible for his improvement to be as great as ours. Jun Mingchen spoke. As long as he dares to come out, we will kill him right here. That won't happen. Entering the immortal realm requires one to establish an immortal foundation. Although the sacred luminance can stimulate the potential of stellar martial cultivators, it wouldn't allow Wu Xiu to establish an immortal foundation. Nam Huang Yunxi shook her head. Establishing an immortal foundation requires ample preparation. It's not something that can be broken through any time and anywhere. As they were speaking, Hua Taishu also came out. His eyes were even more terrifying than before, as though they were bottomless. His cultivation base had also broken through, stepping into the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. The baptism of the sacred luminance could easily cause an 8th level ascendance constellation to undergo a transformation, allowing them to break through to the 9th level. In fact, even 7th level ascendants could directly jump 2 levels and step into the 9th level. Qin Wenyan and Zi Qingxian came out at the same time. Zi Qingxian finally managed to endure the pressure and underwent a transformation. As for Qin Wenyan, there was no need to say anything more. Right now, his eyes gleamed with a startling divine light, capable of penetrating through the hearts of others. Terrifying runic inscriptions circulated around his body, giving birth to a perfect physique. Chapter 970. Qin Wenyan glanced at his companions as he smiled. All of you have broken through. In this case, now that all of us are at the same cultivation level, we might even have a chance to become immortals together. My luck is good, to think that I would be able to encounter the sacred luminance here. If not, I'm still some distance away from the 9th level of celestial phenomenon and wouldn't be able to break through so quickly. Jun Mingchen laughed. If you put it this way, Princess Qing and I would be at a disadvantage. Initially, we were already at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. Nam Huang Yunxi's mood seemed to be extremely good. She also joked. For such an ancient treasure, it's not strange for it to break through 2 levels. Our luck is very good, but it can also be said that it's not that good. If we wait until we break through to the immortal realm before we undergo the baptism of the sacred luminance, our potential would be even greater. Is there really no way to bring the sacred luminance away? Qin Wenyan stared at the sacred luminance with reluctance in his heart. Such an ancient treasure, how good would it be if he could give it to Qingqing? If that's the case, Qingqing's cultivation would be able to catch up a little and wouldn't be too far behind. It's not impossible. The sacred luminance is a type of ancient holy light. If we want to bring it away and store it, the only way is to borrow the power of an ancient holy treasure. But do you have such a treasure? Nam Huang Yunxi smiled. For treasures like ancient holy treasures, let alone Qin Wenyan, even in the entire immortal realms, there shouldn't be many who possess them. Even if they existed, they would all be treasures passed down through the generations by experts from the various peak powers. Qin Wenyan shrugged. Since this antiquity city has the sacred luminance, maybe our luck is good and we might really be able to obtain an ancient holy treasure. I also hope to have such luck. Nam Huang Yunxi's beautiful eyes contained a faint smile. This Qin Wenyan was truly greedy. He actually wanted to obtain an ancient treasure. At this moment, a long screech rang out from within the sacred luminance. Purgatory, who was immersed in the sacred luminance, was bathed in flames as his body was reconstructed. He was originally a spirit that was nurtured by Qin Wentian's bloodline and had his own intelligence. Now that he underwent the baptism of the sacred luminance, he seemed to have undergone a transformation as his true body was forged. His body was covered in runic light, exuding an incomparably domineering aura, resembling a true demonic divine bird. Purgatory turned into a streak of red lightning, descending above Qin Wentian's head. It circled around and released a long cry, feeling extremely excited. Irregular phenomena appeared in the heavens, radiance intimidating. Congratulations, Purgatory. Qin Wentian smiled. Purgatory slowly descended, hovering above Qin Wentian's shoulder, using its wings to stroke Qin Wentian's body. Senior brother, what should we do with this fellow? Jun Mingchen stared at Emosier as he asked. If he knows that we want to deal with him, he would definitely hide within the sacred luminance and not come out. Let's continue forward. There might be other good fortune in this antiquity city. It's not worth wasting time on him. Now, Emosier is no longer a threat to us. Qin Wendian replied. Jun Mingchen coldly glanced at Emosier. We can only spare him for now. Jun Mingchen understood as well. Now that their group had all broken through to the peak of celestial phenomenon, the threat Emosier posed to them was already very small. If they were to fight again like before in the underworld mountains, regardless of whether it was the Violet Sect or the Evil Palace, both sides would have to pay a heavy price. Let's move out. Let's take a good look at this antiquity city. Qin Wenyan floated in the air, his entire body shimmering with runic light, resembling a wind rock. Let's go. Jun Mingchen stepped out in large strides, as the rest of them continued forward, heading towards the depths of the antiquity city. What's that? Qin Wendian stared at a direction on his left. There seemed to be flames soaring up to the skies, resembling the eruption of a volcano. Lava gushed out ferociously, its color as red as blood, dyeing the sky red as it transformed into towering flames that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. Such a flame isn't something we can imagine. There's no need to bother about it. Namhuang Yunshi was more familiar with flames. Just by looking at the color of the flame, she knew that it wasn't something they could imagine. Qin Wenyin and the rest continued forward, seeing many strange sights. These sights were too terrifying. There was the underworld river that could corrode everything. There was also the void fragmentation current that could destroy everything. They didn't even dare to get close to these sights. These sights were extremely attractive to immortal emperors. Immortal emperors might be able to use these sights to break through to the next realm, but Qin Wendian and the rest were only at the celestial phenomenon realm. They were simply too weak. They didn't even dare to get close to these sights. Finally, there was no more path ahead. Under the starry sky, boundless starlight cascaded down on this antiquity city. Numerous spatial gates appeared in the ancient city. These spatial gates were like ancient existences, able to connect to the heavens above the starry sky. This place seemed to be the end of the antiquity city, but also the starting point. It was as though one could truly step into the starry sky through these spatial gates and see the ancient kings. It seems like there's no more path ahead. Jun Mingchen stared at the spatial gates in front of them and asked in a low voice, "What's inside?" "The ancient path of the starry sky." Namhuang Yunshi's beautiful eyes stared ahead. She slowly lifted her head and stared at the heavens. "In this antiquity city, I've seen too many ancient legends. The ancient path of the starry sky has also appeared. This is an ancient path for worshipping the gods." "What do you mean?" Qin Wendian asked. "The sacred luminance is a type of sacred light in the legends. The ancient path of the starry sky is also related to the legends of the ancient era. There are records in the ancient records that if you encounter a spatial gate that connects to the heavens, that means you've encountered the ancient path of the starry sky. This is a trial bestowed by the divinities, and if you can pass all of them, you would have a chance to worship the divinities. After seeing the ancient path of the starry sky, I finally understand why the city of ancient emperors exists." Namhuang Yunshi finally understood the greatest secret of the city of ancient emperors. Maybe the southern matriarch of the Namhuang clan knew something, but because her cultivation base was weak, she didn't tell her. But now that she had discovered the secret, she couldn't help but feel waves of emotions in her heart. "You are saying that the reason for the existence of the city of ancient emperors is to worship the divinities?" Qin Wendian asked. "Regardless of today or in the ancient era, is the peak of the immortal emperor realm the limit of cultivation? Is there an even higher realm above that they couldn't reach? But they still yearn for it?" Namhuang Yunshi's voice was solemn as she slowly spoke. "For ancient emperors, they must have spent their entire lives in pursuit of that higher realm. In that case, there's only one path, and that is to search for a divine relic. And the antiquity city we are in right now is none other than a divine relic. Hence, many ancient emperors all headed there. Maybe they found it, but I don't know if any of them managed to pass through the ancient pathway and met with the divinities." "Divine relic?" Qin Wendian mumbled. "Since it's a divine relic, I have no choice but to take a look at it. You are only at the celestial phenomenon realm." Namhuang Yunshi exclaimed in shock. Since it's a divine relic, they should have considered the possibility that there would be people of different cultivation realms who entered the ancient pathway in the future, right? I'm already at the peak of celestial phenomenon, and I'm about to become an immortal. Now that I've seen the pathway, how can I not take a look?" Qin Wentian's heart surged with emotions. His words caused Namhuang Yunshi's heart to tremble. Peak of celestial phenomenon, on the verge of becoming an immortal? Once he stepped into immortal foundation, he would be at the 6th level of cultivation. Indeed, he should be looking further ahead. In addition, I also wish to walk the path of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian's arrogance towered up to the clouds. His gaze was incomparably sharp as he stared ahead. Ever since he was young, he had stepped onto the path of cultivation and experienced 5 great cultivation realms: Body Refinement Realm, Arterial Circulation Realm, Yuanfu Realm, Heavenly Dipper Realm, and Celestial Phenomenon Realm. Now, he was already at the peak of Celestial Phenomenon. One more step and he would be at the 6th level, the Immortal Foundation Realm. The Immortal Foundation Realm was the beginning of the path of experts. One would be able to dominate a particle world, and above that, the Immortal Realms would be the king. The 7th level, the Immortal King Realm, was the Immortal King Realm. On the path of cultivation, would there be a higher level? This Antiquity City, the ancient pathway in the starry space, was the path of an immortal king. Although he hadn't become an immortal yet, he still wanted to take a look. I wish to take a look as well. Jun Mengchen clenched his fists tightly as a fiery light flashed in his eyes. Nam Huang Yunxi stared at the two of them, feeling a sense of heroism in her heart. Fine, since we've already made a trip here, let's take a look at the ancient pathway. But if there's any real danger, don't forget to retreat if you can. Let's go. Jun Mengchen was somewhat impatient. Qin Wenin glanced at Qing as he held her hand. Qing, if you go, I'll go too. Qing seemed to know what Qin Wendian wanted to say. Qin Wenin could only smile bitterly as he stared at her. You must remember to protect yourself. Emichim. Qin nodded. After that, the two of them walked towards the ancient pathway and stepped into the astral gate. Instantly, Qin Wenin appeared in another part of the void. This was a world of nothingness. Qin and the others were no longer here. He was the only one here. Beams of light cascaded down on him and abruptly, an incomparably scorching heat radiated outwards. In this world of nothingness, there seemed to be a fearsome, ferocious bird rushing towards him. This ferocious bird had a malevolent look to it, something that Qin Wenin had never seen before. It appeared before him in the blink of an eye, its incomparably sharp claws slashed out, capable of ripping apart everything. Qin Wentian's aura instantly gushed forth as resplendent runic light circulated around him. It was as though he could destroy his enemies with just his fleshly body alone. His palms blasted out with enough power to shatter the sun, moon, and constellations. A thunderous boom rang out as Qin Wentian was forced backwards. The body of the ferocious bird shone with blood-colored light as runic inscriptions illuminated the skies, containing a boundless ferocious might. It was like a devilish bird from the primordial era, and its aura far surpassed all the other experts Qin Wendian had met at the same level as him, including Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie. The ferocious bird's eyes could envelop people, causing them to sink into a trance. It rushed out once more, leaving behind only an afterimage as boundless runic light blasted out. Qin Wenyan only felt the sky changing color as numerous terrifying demonic birds blotted out the sun, wanting to tear him into pieces. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. As expected of the ancient pathway in the starry skies. This test was simply too terrifying. However, the more it was so, the stronger his battle intent grew. If he could pass this ancient pathway, would there be a divine miracle waiting for him? With a roar of rage, Qin Wentian's body instantly manifested boundless divine energy of a great rock. He blasted out with his palms capable of shattering the dome of the heavens. He frenziedly clashed against the attacks of the ferocious bird, causing a chaotic shockwave to engulf the entire space. Qin Wentian was long prepared for this. His palms circulated with a fearsome light, gleaming with a hint of platinum, as well as a demonic blood-colored glow. He directly blasted out, causing another thunderous boom to echo out. After that, the ferocious bird continued its frenzied attacks. Qin Wentian's physique clashed against it. Right now, Qin Wentian's aura was extremely powerful, and his body was clad in a blood-colored platinum armor. It was unknown how many times stronger he was compared to before. His attacks caused the entire space to tremble violently. Finally, with a heaven-shaking roar, Qin Wentian's body expanded, and both his palms actually grabbed onto the wings of the ferocious bird. With a loud roar, blood-colored light flashed as Qin Wenyin forcefully tore apart the fearsome body of the ferocious bird. Chapter 971. That ferocious bird directly transformed into nothingness. However, its strength was truly terrifying, as though it originated from the ancient times. Its strength was so overwhelming that it could easily tear apart peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants. Its baleful aura towered up into the sky, wanting to kill everything. Its fleshly body was also incomparably terrifying, but right now, it was actually torn apart by Qin Wenyin. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying Qin Wentian's current strength was. Right now, both of Qin Wentian's palms were like the sharp claws of a wind rock. Demonic qi towered up into the sky, and a faint hint of platinum could be seen, capable of destroying everything. Countless terrifying runic inscriptions circulated around them, granting Qin Wenyin an incomparably terrifying strength. Right now, ordinary peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants could be crushed into pieces with a single palm strike. Even for 9th-level ascendants, they wouldn't be able to withstand the tearing force of his attack. A bright light flashed in front of him as another astral gate appeared. The ancient pathway in the void continued upwards, ascending into the air, paying homage to the divine relic. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with incomparable sharpness. He had no hesitation and stepped out. Since he was able to see the antiquity city, how could he not check it out? If his strength wasn't sufficient and he was defeated, he would have no regrets. But if he didn't even have the courage to do so, how could he even talk about pursuing the supreme path of cultivation? Following the ancient pathway, Qin Wenyin stepped into the vortex-like astral gate. It was as though Qin Wenyin had stepped into the void, appearing in another stretch of nothingness. Above the boundless void, another ancient baleful god appeared. This was an ancient ape that radiated a towering baleful killing intent. It wielded a gigantic cudgel that could sweep through the heavens and earth. This baleful god lifted its gigantic cudgel and directly smashed it towards Qin Wenyin. In an instant, the entire space trembled. This cudgel was so powerful that it could even shatter immortals, let alone celestial phenomenon ascendants. That overwhelming might caused Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. This baleful god was even more tyrannical compared to the ferocious bird earlier. Even in the city of ancient emperors, there weren't many who could withstand such an attack. Rumbling sounds echoed out. Qin Wentian's body expanded to 100 meters, the same size as the baleful god. His palms blotted out the sky as the boundless astral energy in his body transformed into the divine energy of the ancient mountains. His palms blasted out explosively as numerous ancient mountains appeared in the air. A world-shaking explosion rang out as a destructive might engulfed this entire world. The rumbling sounds seemed never-ending as the ancient mountains exploded unceasingly. Behind Qin Wenyin, his constellation of suppression appeared. Streams of light cascaded downwards unceasingly. It was as though he was carrying the body of a divinity on his back. Numerous ancient silhouettes descended from the sky, aiming to suppress the baleful god. That baleful god howled in rage and lifted its cudgel, smashing it towards the sky. The golden silhouettes continued to descend, wanting to suppress and bury this entire world. Although the explosions continued unceasingly, it didn't stop. At the same time, Qin Wenyin stretched out a heaven-shaking gigantic palm imprint. With a single strike, he blasted out with enough power to destroy the sun, moon, and stars, flattening all existences. Roar! The fiend god ape let out an earth-shattering roar, shattering everything. The giant palm imprint rumbled, and when it landed, it only injured its opponent. However, Qin Wentian's expression didn't change in the slightest. A pair of wind rock wings appeared behind him, and he looked like a peerless wind rock. He took a step forward, turning into an afterimage. Then, rumbling sounds could be heard as the fiend god ape's body was destroyed by Qin Wenyin, and it disappeared into nothingness. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed like lightning as he took a step forward. He was very curious to see how many trials there were on the ancient void path, and who could possibly block his path. Qin Wenyin attacked again and again, encountering all sorts of terrifying primordial ferocious beasts that grew stronger and stronger. Towards the end, he had to unleash ancient Emperor Yi's ultimate art, God's Hand, before he could kill them. After 8 consecutive trials, Qin Wenyin killed primordial ferocious beasts. For the 9th trial, he once again came to the battlefield in the void, waiting for the arrival of the primordial ferocious beasts. Such a trial caused Qin Wenyin to sigh in his heart. Most probably, there weren't many geniuses in the entire immortal realms who could pass this trial. If immortal emperors stepped on the ancient pathway, would the primordial ferocious beasts that appeared be at the immortal emperor level as well? How terrifying would that be? At this moment, terrifying runic lights flashed in the air above the world of void. Streams of incomparably baleful aura gushed downwards as terrifying runic inscriptions slammed down with the speed of lightning. A fearsome might of annihilation gushed over, causing Qin Wenyin to feel a sense of danger. 9 was the extreme number. Would this 9th trial be the ultimate trial of the ancient pathway? If so, how terrifying would this trial be? That ferocious might cascaded downwards, causing Qin Wenyan's expression to turn incomparably solemn. Energy gushed forth from his body as God's hand appeared. A thunderous roar rang out from his body as he transformed into a desolate primordial beast, exuding a fearsome aura, terrifying to the extreme. Qin Wenyin inclined his head and stared at the sky. Over there, even the sky seemed to have turned red, as though a heavenly tribulation was about to descend. Destructive lightning bolts unceasingly rained down as a diagram appeared. At the end of the world of void, a supreme greater demon from the supreme ancient immortal realms was about to descend here. That diagram gradually grew clearer as beams of dazzling light cascaded downwards. An even more terrifying and threatening aura enveloped Qin Wenyin, after which, Qin Wenyin saw a dazzling golden light as a supreme greater demon appeared before him. It was like a bolt of golden lightning, instantly appearing in front of Qin Wenyin. With a single strike, Qin Wenyin couldn't even see it clearly. Too fast, fast to the extreme. Qin Wenyin could only rely on his instincts to blast out God's hand. A terrifying sound of collision rang out as Qin Wenyan's body was directly flung through the air. With a groan of misery, he felt that God's hand was about to shatter. Such power caused him to be extremely shocked. However, this wasn't the end. With a flash of light, that supreme baleful might bore down on him again, so fast that Qin Wenyin couldn't even react in time. Qin Wenyin roared as boundless energy gushed forth. God's hand shook the heavens and earth, glowing with a platinum light as it blasted out a heaven-shaking might. An earth-shaking explosion rang out as Qin Wenyin was forced back once again. However, this time around, that supreme greater demon also retreated and floated in the air. Qin Wenyin could finally get a clear look at this greater demon. Its entire body was incomparably dazzling, and seemed to be the purest form of gold. It was a natural color and there were no decorations on it at all. Its wings shone with a golden light and each of its feathers was sharper than swords and sabers, capable of slicing through everything. When the wings of the greater demon flapped, it was as though the sharpest swords were moving about. Its claws were also made from pure gold. From its entire body, only its eyes were black in color, causing the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. Golden-winged great rock. Qin Wenyan's heart trembled. Golden-winged great rock was one of the strongest types of rocks. Qin Wenyin had cultivated the wind rock art before, but ultimately, that was merely an innate technique derived from the body of a great rock. But even so, each and every type of rock art was extremely terrifying. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful a true divine rock was. The golden-winged great rock before his eyes was a true greater demon, possessing the purest bloodline and innate divine might. It also possessed the purest and most primitive golden-winged great rock divine art, an innate technique that belonged to its race. All other types of energy were derived from it. Qin Wenyan's constellation shone with a dazzling light as it frenziedly slammed down. However, the golden-winged great rock flapped its wings as a beam of golden light erupted forth, directly breaking apart the attack. Its baleful eyes had no fluctuations in them at all. These attacks that could easily kill ordinary 9th-level ascendants couldn't even touch it. The cold eyes of the golden-winged great rock gleamed with a supreme sharpness. Its body blasted out once again. Qin Wenyan unleashed the wind rock art, but he simply couldn't match up to its opponent's speed. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as the wings of the golden-winged great rock slashed towards Qin Wenyan. That terrifying golden light seemed to be able to cleave the void into two. Qin Wenyan retreated explosively, but at the same time, he frenziedly blasted out with God's hand, blocking the attack of the golden-winged great rock. However, the golden-winged great rock transformed into a whirlpool of wind. It directly spun in the air, its wings frenziedly slicing apart the void, leaving behind numerous golden shadows that resembled spirals of wind. The terrifying golden light engulfed the entire space. Qin Wenyan frantically retreated, staring at the spiral-like wings of the golden-winged great rock. His countenance grew incredibly unsightly to behold. Such attacks were unceasing. Unless he could shatter the wings of the golden-winged great rock, it was clearly impossible for him to do so. Qin Wenyan's sword Qi towered up into the sky. God's hand blasted out tens of thousands of meter-long sword beams, piercing towards the sharp wings of the golden-winged great rock. However, the sharp swords were all broken inch by the vortex. God's hand could only continue slashing downwards. The piercing sounds were extremely ear-piercing. Qin Wenyan's God's hand was on the verge of breaking apart. Borrowing the force of the collision, he retreated explosively. If he was struck by that attack, no matter how strong his body was, he would still be shredded into pieces. It was impossible for him to defeat his opponent by competing in terms of sharpness, and he was not as fast as his opponent. He could only use his greatest strength to break this kind of attack. Qin Wenyan's bloodline power surged. His God's hand transformed into a long spear as the power of his bloodline circulated around it. The divine energy in his body frenziedly erupted forth. Such might was sufficient to cause all the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors to prostrate before him. The spiral-shaped attack of the golden-winged great rock was so dazzling and beautiful, yet it contained a supreme killing might within. Boom! Qin Wenyan's body radiated a fearsome might that originated from the supreme ancient immortal realms. Demonic qi engulfed the entire sky, and at the same time, a white light flashed with the strongest destructive might, circulating around the tip of his spear. Die! With a thunderous roar, Qin Wenyan's long spear pierced towards the spinning golden-winged great rock. The power of his God's hand erupted forth in a single strike. The long spear pierced through the wings of the great rock, but this time around, it actually didn't shatter. Terrifying hissing sounds rang out as a surge of divine might permeated the air. The long spear pierced through the rock's wings, causing the spinning great rock to abruptly halt. A spear filled with a supreme sharpness pierced through the rock's wings and into its body. Qin Wenyan's God's hand dissipated. This strongest strike exhausted all the energy of his God's hand. That long spear shone with the strongest destructive runic light. The cold eyes of the golden-winged great rock stared at Qin Wenyan as a look of astonishment flashed through its eyes. Its mouth opened slightly, and after that, two words actually flowed out from its mouth. God's blood. As the sound of its voice faded, the long spear shattered. The body of the golden-winged great rock also transformed into nothingness, vanishing from sight. Chapter 972. God's Blood. Qin Wenyan frowned as his eyes gleamed with sharpness. The god's hand and the long spear vanished together. He felt some bewilderment in his heart. What did the golden-winged rock mean when it vanished? He stared at his palms. There was a dazzling runic light circulating around them. The power of the two bloodlines intertwined as runic inscriptions shimmered. This golden-winged rock is truly terrifying. Most probably, he still has many innate abilities that he hasn't unleashed yet. I need to use my strongest attack before I can penetrate his body and kill him. Qin Wenyan's heart trembled. If this attack couldn't penetrate his opponent's body, he wouldn't have any other attacks that would be able to break through his defenses. Given his current strength, Qin Wenyan was confident that he had truly reached the pinnacle below immortality. Below the immortal foundation realm, there were only a few who could be his match. 4 ordinary peak-level celestial phenomenon ascendants, they would be able to use their constellations to suppress and destroy everything. However, the golden-winged rock gave him a terrifying sense of pressure that could truly threaten him. At this moment in the air, an ancient pathway appeared. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed. The test should be over, right? If this still wasn't the strongest test, he would truly be helpless. Stepping out, Qin Wenyan moved towards the ancient pathway. Instantly, Qin Wenyan felt as though he was shuttling through the void. The next moment, when he stepped out, he arrived at the other end of the pathway. At the other end of the ancient pathway, there was a sacred palace located beneath the boundless starry skies. Astral light cascaded down from the heavens, radiating an ancient and solemn aura. Qin Wenyan turned his gaze ahead. There was a silhouette standing there, towering above the heavens, exuding a lofty aura akin to a true divinity. Other than this, there was nothing else. Is this really a divine miracle? Qin Wenyan stared at the statue. After so many trials and tribulations, he came here just to take a look at this statue? Qin Wenyan shifted his gaze and looked at the side of the statue. There was a scepter in his hand. This scepter also stood between the heavens and the earth, as if it symbolized supreme power and had incomparable majesty. Qin Wenyan stepped forward and reached out his hand. A dazzling light shone in his eyes. Qin Wenyan directly grabbed the scepter. At this instant, boundless runic light surged crazily on the surface of the scepter. Suddenly, a lot of information appeared in Qin Wentian's mind. His eyes seemed to be able to see the entire Antiquities city, penetrating through the ancient starry sky path. In his mind, he was currently in a god's residence. The Antiquities city was located below this god's residence. Only those who had heard of the ancient starry sky path could reach this god's residence. The statue of the god as well as the scepter symbolized supreme authority. It overlooked everything in the ancient city as if it was in control of it. Qin Wenyan could even see the situation outside the Antiquities city. The disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were pacing back and forth. They were blocked outside the ancient battle sky path and didn't even have the qualifications to pass the first test. A strange feeling appeared in Qin Wentian's heart. With the scepter in his hand, he could even seal the Antiquities city. There are 3 passageways and 3 entrances. At this moment, Qin Wentian's perception spread out once more. He could see even more scenes. This Antiquities city didn't only have the entrance he came from. There were 2 other passageways that seemed to be connected to 2 other spaces in the city of ancient emperors. That place might be the 2nd and 3rd level of the city of ancient emperors. Not good, Qingxian is in danger. At this moment, Qin Wenyan saw Zi Qingxian, who was undergoing the test on the ancient starry sky path. She was in imminent danger and was heavily injured by a greater demon. Get out! An intense will gushed forth from Qin Wenyan. Zi Qingxian, who was in the midst of battle, suddenly felt a supreme will descend upon her. Her body instantly retreating towards the ancient starry sky path. In the next instant, she appeared outside the ancient starry sky path once again. Her heart pounded wildly as she stared up at the sky. That will earlier was like the will of a divinity. There was no way for her to resist it. Was that a divine decree? However, this divine decree had saved her. Qin Wenyan glanced at the other participants who were fighting on the ancient starry sky path. He exerted force in his palm, wanting to take the scepter away. However, a terrifying runic light flashed in the air as rumbling sounds rang out. The shadow of a black dragon appeared there, staring at him with its gigantic head. Qin Wenyan opened his eyes and stared at the black dragon. You're still too weak. You still can't take this scepter away. The black dragon spoke, his words causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. This was none other than the black dragon from the sea. However, it seemed that this black dragon was merely an incarnation of a will. Since I came here through the ancient starry sky path, why can't I take the scepter away? Qin Wentian asked. You have already established a connection with the scepter. In the future, If you have the chance, you can come here anytime. Come again when your cultivation base reaches a certain level. I will help you to close the seal. The black dragon spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. Even ancient emperors came here for the sake of obtaining the scepter. But from the tone of the black dragon, it seemed that he would be able to inherit the scepter. Little fellow, your luck is extremely good. In the long river of time, many world-shaking geniuses have come here, but precisely because of their formidable strength, their opponents on the ancient starry sky path were even more terrifying. Even so, there were still many supreme geniuses who were defeated after reaching the 9th path. Your talent is outstanding, and you have also obtained the baptism of sacred luminance. You cultivated the ultimate techniques of your ancestors and relied on your tyrannical bloodline to reach this point. Your cultivation base is low, but it is actually an advantage. But at the same time, your cultivation base doesn't allow you to control this scepter. After that, he added, I will come again in the future. If I leave like this, wouldn't it be a waste of my efforts to pass the ancient starry sky path? Senior should at least leave something behind for me, like an ancient treasure. Qin Wendian looked at the black dragon and smiled. As for that sacred luminance, I wish to bring it out. Senior should have a way to do so, right? You are truly greedy, the black dragon said. Look at the left hand of the divine statue. That treasured cauldron, if you can bring it away, then take it. That treasured cauldron is the ancient treasure you want. Even the sacred luminance you requested can be stored in that cauldron. A fiery light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. Ancient treasured cauldron. He glanced at the divine statue's left hand. That incomparably gigantic palm was indeed holding onto a square-shaped cauldron. Ancient runes were inscribed on it, exuding a mysterious aura. Qin Wendian couldn't understand them at all. Qin Wendian stretched his hand out, wanting to lift it up. However, he discovered that the cauldron wouldn't budge at all. Finally, it weighed millions of jin. How heavy? Qin Wentian's countenance froze. His body expanded in size as he hugged the cauldron with both hands. His entire body shimmered with a resplendent light, and with a loud roar, both his hands were infused with immense strength. Terrifying rumbling sounds rang out as the cauldron seemed to shift slightly. Boundless runic light abruptly shone resplendently as a terrifying whirlpool of energy gushed forth from the cauldron. The incomparably intense suction force had no way to resist. Qin Wentian's gigantic body directly transformed into a beam of light as he was sucked into the cauldron. Qin Wendian appeared within the cauldron. His body was incomparably gigantic, yet he was still within the cauldron. This cauldron was filled with ancient runes that seemed to contain an ancient and mysterious power. The interior of the cauldron shone with brilliant light as a towering might gushed forth, enveloping Qin Wentian's body. At this instant, Qin Wendian felt as though his body was about to be refined by the cauldron. His countenance instantly turned pale. You tricked me. Qin Wentian soared up into the air. However, boundless runic light circulated around his body, causing him to be unable to move at all. He had no way to break free from the cauldron. This is an ancient cauldron, it's beneficial to you. Feel it well. The voice of the black dragon drifted over. Qin Wendian felt as though his body was about to be torn apart. The ancient runic inscriptions transformed into a fearsome might that blasted into his body. In an instant, he felt as though he was enduring the might of countless types of innate techniques. His body felt as though it was about to be torn apart as his gigantic frame gradually turned illusory. Roar! Qin Wendian unleashed his bloodline power as he let out a thunderous roar. That white runic light circulated around his body, rapidly repairing his damaged physique. His body was constantly being destroyed and repaired. Such pain caused even Qin Wentian's will to collapse. He felt that he wouldn't be able to endure it any longer and would explode to death. No! Qin Wendian howled madly, gritting his teeth as he endured. He had already arrived before the divine statue. How could he be destroyed by a cauldron? This cauldron wasn't able to destroy his will. Streaks of light rushed into Qin Wentian's body, seeping into his bones and meridians. However, Such pain caused Qin Wenyan to faint several times. Such pain persisted for an entire hour, but to Qin Wenyan, it felt as long as half a century. When everything stopped, Qin Wenyan's entire body was drenched in sweat. However, his skin seemed to be even more crystalline and translucent than before. Within his bones, there seemed to be a surge of violent energy akin to that of a primordial beast. His gaze turned to the cauldron, and when he looked at the runic inscriptions again, they seemed to have become much clearer. These runic inscriptions transformed into diagrams that floated before his eyes, resembling ancient offensive treasured arts that contained supreme might. There's an innate technique within the cauldron. Qin Wenyan's heart trembled. At this moment, he felt a connection formed between him and the cauldron. However, a bitter smile appeared on his face. He didn't feel the slightest bit complacent. He still didn't know who was the one who refined who. Qin Wenyan's silhouette flickered as he exited the cauldron. He ruthlessly glared at Black Dragon. This fellow tricked him. However, Black Dragon's expression was still the same as before. He emotionlessly spoke. Your friend and the other fellow have already been sent out by me. I've also sealed the entrance. Do you want to go out now? I'll store the sacred luminance first. Qin Wenyan spoke. After that, his palms trembled as the cauldron revolved, becoming much smaller as it flew into his palm. He held the scepter in his hand and with a flash of light, his silhouette vanished as he reappeared before the sacred luminance. Qin Wenyan stared at the sacred luminance cascading down from the sky as his hatred for Black Dragon vanished. This was an ancient sacred light. Once he placed it in the cauldron, even immortal kings and emperors would beg him to use it. Naturally, Qin Wenyan also understood in his heart that if he really brought the sacred luminance out, he absolutely couldn't reveal it or he would die a miserable death. With a wave of his hand, the cauldron expanded in size and flew towards the sacred luminance. In an instant, boundless sacred luminance flowed into the cauldron, transforming into streaks of light that fused into the cauldron. Chapter 973. Sacred Luminance. Qin Wenyan's eyes blazed with heat. His heart was connected to the cauldron, and he could already sense the sacred luminance appearing within, fusing into the runes of the cauldron. Within the interior of the cauldron, the sacred luminance shone brilliantly, truly becoming one with the cauldron. Qin Wenyan finally understood why ancient treasures were needed to store the sacred luminance. The sacred luminance was a type of primordial holy light that had no shape or form. For ordinary treasures, the sacred luminance would vanish the moment it entered the cauldron. Only true treasures could allow the sacred luminance to fuse with the treasures, allowing the sacred luminance to be born within. In this case, from now on, Qin Wenyan would be able to use the sacred luminance to cleanse the body of others, allowing them to ascend to a higher level. Naturally, the prerequisite was that the will of that person had to be strong enough. If not, they would be directly destroyed by the sacred luminance. Namhuang Yunshi said that the sacred luminance was something that even immortal kings and emperors yearned for in their dreams. Although he didn't dare to announce that he had the sacred luminance now, in the future when he had a certain level of strength, he would be able to use it to summon immortal kings and emperors and nurture demon-level geniuses. The sacred luminance unceasingly flowed into the cauldron. Qin Wenyan was afraid that it wouldn't be enough and didn't stop. After a long time, the voice of the Black Dragon drifted over, "You brat, that's enough. This cauldron is a saint artifact, and the sacred luminance is already stored within. This means that the space within the cauldron already contains the sacred luminance." Qin Wenyan smiled awkwardly. After that, with a wave of his hand, runes illuminated the skies as the cauldron closed. With a wave of his hand, the cauldron shrunk in size and flew into his palm. Qin Wenyan directly kept it. This ancient saint artifact contained a supreme innate ability. He would definitely cultivate it well after he exited this place. This escape could be said to be a blessing in disguise. They managed to barge into the antiquity city and learned of some of its secrets, obtaining the sacred luminance. This was truly a great opportunity, and it seemed like they still had to thank the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. If it wasn't for the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor ordering the experts of the Dongshangshan Gate to kill their way into the city of ancient emperors, they wouldn't have such an opportunity. Go! A mysterious energy enveloped Qin Wentian's body as he was sent out of the Antiquities city. When he reappeared, Qin Wentian was already at the entrance. Nam Huang Yunshi and the rest were all there. When they saw Qin Wentian coming out, a strange expression appeared on their faces as they looked at Qin Wentian with a strange expression. What's wrong? Qin Wentian shrugged as he looked at everyone's curious eyes. We were all sent out together. Nam Huang Yunshi looks at Qin Wentian with a smile. This cold and arrogant princess of the Nam Huang clan seems to smile occasionally in front of them, which is even more charming. There's also Mo Xie. However, that fellow joined forces with those from the Dongshangshan Gate and used an immortal-ranked weapon to escape. If not, we would have left him here, Jun Mingchen added. Senior brother Qin, you were the last to come out. Did you have some good fortune again? I passed through the ancient pathway in the starry space and saw a divine statue. After that, the guardian greater demon said that my cultivation base was too low and chased me out, telling me to come back again in the future. Qin Wentian spoke in a depressed tone. He didn't explain the other matters clearly, including the matter regarding the sacred luminance. It wasn't that his relationship with these people wasn't good, it was just that there were too many people here. Who could guarantee that they wouldn't leak this information out? Nam Huang Yunshi was the princess of the Nam Huang clan. Could Qin Wentian guarantee that she wouldn't leak this secret to the Nam Huang clan? He didn't think that he had that kind of charm. Hua Taishu also had his own sect. The myriad incarnations immortal king accepted him as a disciple. It was only normal for him to leak this information to the myriad incarnations immortal king. And once the matter regarding the sacred luminance was leaked out, only death would await him, Qin Wentian. The immortal emperors and emperors of the immortal realms would hunt him down. There was no way for him to survive in the vast immortal realms. Hence, it was best that only he knew about this matter. After all, everyone here had already bathed in the sacred luminance and obtained a transformation. There's really a miracle. Nanfeng Yunshi stared at the antiquity city ahead as she spoke. After you passed through the ancient pathway, we were blasted out and the antiquity city was sealed. Seems like from now on, only you can enter the antiquity city. To you, this is an extremely great opportunity. Maybe, but that's a matter for the future. Qin Wentian spoke. Let's go, let's return to the city of ancient emperors. Ancient? Everyone nodded. Qin took out a void leaf as all the experts stepped onto it and returned to the passageway. This time around, the instant they stepped into the passageway, they directly appeared at the other end of the passageway. Turning their heads back, they stared at the antiquity city in the air as their silhouettes grew further and further away. On the way back, Qin Wentian suddenly saw a group of people heading back. These people were none other than the experts of the Dongshangshan Gate who returned empty-handed. When they saw Qin Wentian and the others, their eyes flashed with coldness as they all took out their immortal-ranked weapons, their auras towering up into the sky. Should we do it or not? Jun Mingchen's eyes flashed with coldness. There's no need to bother with them. Let's continue on our way. Qin Wentian spoke. Although all of them had undergone a transformation, the 300-plus experts of the Dongshangshan Gate all took out their immortal-ranked weapons. Even if they relied on the number of immortal-ranked weapons, their opponents would still be able to suppress them. This wasn't something that could be changed by strength. Qin nodded. The void leaf continued flying through the air, passing by the experts of the Dongshangshan Gate. The eyes of the experts of the Dongshangshan Gate gleamed with sharpness as they stared at Qin Wentian and the others. After we return, we will reform the Qin sect and recruit more disciples. In that case, regardless of whether we use immortal-ranked weapons or not, we won't be in a disadvantageous position. Qin Wentian spoke. Jun Mingchen nodded. No matter what, their strength had already undergone a transformation. Although the people of the Dongshangshan Gate were many, with over 300 experts, they were still lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Let them be complacent for a period of time, Jun Mingchen spoke in a cold voice. During the period of time when Qin Wenyan and the others were in the Antiquity City, something major happened in the Underworld Mountains. Zi Daoyang was recuperating in the Underworld Mountains when he coincidentally met Zhan Peng, who had just finished his cultivation and was walking out of his cave. Although Zhan Peng had managed to obtain one of the inheritances of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor thanks to some luck, the cruel ending told the people of the city of ancient emperors that the truly powerful inheritances could only be obtained by a select few of the strongest geniuses. Even if the others managed to obtain the inheritance, they were destined to benefit others. Zhan Peng, who was ranked in the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings, died in Zi Daoyang's hands. Zi Daoyang's inheritance was absorbed by Zi Daoyang, causing him to grow even stronger. After Zi Daoyang devoured Zhan Peng's inheritance, he headed into the depths of the Underworld Mountains. Eventually, he also saw the Antiquity City, but at that time, it had already closed. Qin Wenyan and the others had already left. Zi Daoyang stared at the city and could only reluctantly leave. When Qin Wenyan and the others returned to the Qin sect, the vast place seemed somewhat deserted. Only a few people were still in the Qin sect, while the others had already left. Several silhouettes soared up into the air, and upon seeing Qin Wenyan and the others returning, a smile appeared on their faces. "You guys still know how to return." Li Yu crossed his arms in front of his chest, staring at the silhouettes before him. Their demeanor seemed to have changed again, and this caused Li Yu's eyes to gleam with sharpness. "The Qin sect was founded by us, we will naturally return." Qin Wenyan laughed. "Don't blame the disciples of the Qin sect. You guys are being hunted by the Dongshengshan Gate, and the Evil Palace and Violet sect are like tigers eyeing their prey. Xiao Lingyue threatened the Qin sect to scram, so." Su Rushue spoke in a low voice. Qin Wenyan waved his hands. "No, I will leave as well." At the end of the day, the Qin sect was merely a temporary power that they had established in the city of ancient emperors. They had formed an alliance to contend for supremacy in the city of ancient emperors. But now that their leaders were being hunted, it was unrealistic to expect the others to hold on. Summon the members of the Qin sect back. In addition, I plan to recruit more disciples and prepare for the final battle in the city of ancient emperors. Those who are willing can join my Qin sect. What do you all think? Qin Wenyan spoke to Li Yu and Su Rushue. "Are you preparing for the final battle?" Li Yu had a strange expression on his face. "Yes, I'm going to notify the city of ancient emperors that I, Qin Wenyan, will challenge the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang, and the second ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Mo Xie." Qin Wenyan spoke, his words causing the eyes of Su Rushue and Li Yu to flicker with a dazzling light. Qin Wenyan wanted to challenge Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie? "Sure, I will handle this matter for you," Li Yu replied. "Me too." Su Rushue's countenance sharpened. Were they going to witness history? "I'll be troubling you then." Qin Wenyan nodded to them. After which, the group of them entered the Qin sect. Very swiftly, a shocking piece of news circulated around the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wenyan had once again summoned the members of the Qin sect, and was going to continue with the recruitment. Qin Wenyan had issued a challenge to Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie. After he dealt with the Dongshengshan Gate, he would officially challenge the top rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings and the second rankers. As this news circulated, the entire city of ancient emperors was in an uproar. Was this going to be a battle at the pinnacle? It seemed like Qin Wenyan had already stepped into the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. There were rumors in the Underworld Mountains that the Qin sect had been ambushed by the 3 transcendent powers, but Qin Wenyan and the others had returned safely. Qin Wenyan had once said that if he broke through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon, he would fight Zi Daoyang alone. Now, he wanted to fulfill his promise and challenge Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie. The geniuses of the Qin sect all returned, and there were even more geniuses who joined the Qin sect. They couldn't stand the sight of the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, and they even declared that they would annihilate these clowns. They even sent an army to kill Qin Wenyan. This was undoubtedly using the strength of a transcendent power to interfere in the affairs of the city of ancient emperors. Back then, the disciple of the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had been extremely arrogant and humiliated the Qin sect. Yet when he encountered Qin Wenyan, he couldn't even withstand a single strike and was killed. If the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had the ability to send an even stronger disciple to kill Qin Wenyan, he would have simply mobilized the 300-strong army from the Dongshengshan Gate to form a battle formation. The Dongshengshan Gate was the first sect to use its power to interfere in the affairs of geniuses in the city of ancient emperors, and this caused many people to feel disdain. They joined the Qin sect and prepared to destroy the Dongshengshan Gate. At the same time, they wanted to witness Qin Wentian's battle against Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie. This was a battle between men in the city of ancient emperors. Chapter 974. In the city of ancient emperors, even if they weren't descendants of the same bloodline, they were still disciples of the city of ancient emperors. All of them were arrogant and untamed, exuding arrogance that towered up to the clouds. They couldn't bear the actions of the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor. Back then, if the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had sent more powerful geniuses over to kill Qin Wenyan, that was because of his own capabilities. Sending an army over would only result in him being criticized by others. At the same time, Qin Wenyan challenged Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie, the first and second rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings. This caused the hearts of the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors to be filled with such spirit. Comparing the two, Qin Wentian's boldness was even more evident, causing the people of the Dongshengshan Gate to feel extremely unsightly. Hence, a tempest arose in the city of ancient emperors. The number of geniuses who joined the Qin sect was as many as the clouds. In a short few days, many geniuses of the Qin sect wanted to witness this historic moment in the city of ancient emperors, to see Qin Wenyan fight against Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie. At this moment, the Qin sect was no longer as quiet as it was a few days ago. It was now extremely lively as experts from all directions gathered here, all of them wanting to join the Qin sect. Qin Wenyan also changed his previous policy and accepted everyone who came. Before this, he thought that those who joined the Qin sect would all be like brothers to him. But in reality, he wouldn't be staying in the city of ancient emperors for too long. This was a temporary alliance, and it was impossible for them to truly be like brothers to each other. He might as well go with the flow and do what he needed to do. Nanfeng, did Qin Wenyan break through to the 9th level of celestial phenomenon? I remember when he entered the city of ancient emperors, he was still at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon. In such a short period of time, he actually broke through 2 levels and entered the 9th level. Did you guys have any miraculous encounters? Many experts of the Qin sect gathered together, and one of them asked Namhuang Yunxi, who was sitting in the center. Yes, we did have some miraculous encounters. Namhuang Yunxi nodded, honestly admitting. Oh, what fortuitous encounter? Someone asked. In this city of ancient emperors, in the depths of the underworld mountains, there's an antiquity city that contains many secrets. When we explored it, we encountered some good fortune and obtained many benefits. Qin Wenyan successfully broke through to the next level. Namhuang Yunxi said bluntly. Sooner or later, this city couldn't be hidden anymore. If she kept it a secret, others would suspect her in the future. It was better to say it frankly. Is this true? As expected, the eyes of some experts gleamed with sharpness as they turned their gazes onto Nanfeng Yunxi. Naturally, why would I lie to you guys? You guys can go ahead and search for it, you will definitely be able to find it. It's just that sadly, because this antiquity city has a very high requirement for one's cultivation base, it said that our cultivation bases are too low and eventually chased us out. If not, we might even have a chance to establish our immortal foundation in there. Namhuang Yunxi calmly spoke. And now, this antiquity city has already been closed. Really? Many people had looks of disappointment on their faces. The antiquity city was actually closed? Didn't that mean that they no longer had a chance? Nanfeng didn't lie to you guys. Everything she said is the truth. At this moment, Qin Wenyan appeared and sat together with Nam Huang Yunshi. Brother Qin. Everyone clasped their hands to Qin Wenyan, being extremely polite. Sect leader Qin. There were also experts who called out. After all, Qin Wenyan was the sect leader of the Qin sect. Brothers, you are all too polite. Those who come to my Qin sect are all my brothers. Qin Wenyan thanks everyone for your help. Qin Wenyan stood there and clasped his hands to everyone, exuding a magnanimous air. To deal with a power like the Dongshengshan Gate that uses numbers to bully the weak, we should make them wake up. This place is the city of ancient emperors. That's right. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor actually sent an army to the city of ancient emperors to deal with Brother Qin. Such a power shouldn't exist in the first place. Brother Qin, there's something I want to say first. We're all very willing to deal with the Dongshengshan Gate, but since you challenged Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie, you have to depend on yourself. If the people of the Violet Sect and Evil Palace interfere, we will act. But if you want to fight one-on-one, you have to depend on yourself. We also want to witness a battle at the pinnacle of the city of ancient emperors, someone stated. That's only natural. Qin Wenyan nodded. I, Qin Wenyan, didn't expand my Qin sect because I wanted to bully others. It's just that I don't wish to face the same situation as before, being surrounded by the various major powers. That was a battle of humiliation. Since I've issued a challenge to Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie, I naturally want to fight them one-on-one. There's no need for others to help me. Someone cheered. Brother Qin is so daring. He hasn't been in the city of ancient emperors for long, yet he already dared to challenge the first-ranked Zi Daoyang and second-ranked Mo Xie. Truly admirable. Seems like the miraculous encounters in the Antiquity City caused Brother Qin's strength to undergo a transformation. There's one more thing that everyone might not know. Back then, Mo Xie chased after us and entered the Antiquity City as well. He also obtained the miraculous encounters we encountered, Qin Wenyan calmly spoke, causing the eyes of everyone to gleam with sharpness. Mo Xie also entered the Antiquity City? Everyone exclaimed in shock. That's indeed the case. Nam Huang Yunshi nodded. What the Southern Phoenix Holy Maiden said is the truth. We encountered some miraculous encounters in the Antiquity City, but because our cultivation bases were too low, we were forced out. Right now, the Antiquity City has already closed. It's truly a pity. If you guys don't believe me, you can go and take a look yourself. Qin Wenyan spoke frankly, and no one doubted his words. Since Brother Qin and the Southern Phoenix Holy Maiden both said this, we will naturally believe them. After Brother Qin's battle with Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie is over, let's go and take a look at the Antiquity City, someone stated. Since this is the case, let's deal with the Dongshengshan Gate first. If the Dongshengshan Gate uses immortal-ranked weapons in this battle, there's a high possibility that a war between immortal-ranked weapons would erupt. Everyone, make sure to prepare yourselves in advance, Qin Wenyan spoke, as everyone nodded. The members of our Qin sect are scattered all over the city of ancient emperors. The Dongshengshan Gate has no idea who among us are. Their every action is under surveillance, and even if we want to leave the city of ancient emperors, it would already be too late. Right now, the Qin sect's momentum was boundless, and it naturally couldn't be hidden from the eyes and ears of the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate. They were all paying close attention to the Qin sect's actions, and upon learning of the news, the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate were in a dilemma. Everyone, what do you all think? At the base of the Dongshengshan Gate, the four leaders sat in the center as they asked the crowd. We can form an extremely powerful battle formation. Why would we be afraid of the Qin sect? This is the mission given to us by His Majesty, and we have to kill Qin Wenyan no matter what, someone replied. The Qin sect isn't simple. Nam Huang Yunshi, Qin Wenyan, and Princess Qing are actually ranked 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the Immortal Ascension rankings. This is something we didn't know before. And now that Qin Wenyan has entered the Antiquity City, he must have a miraculous encounter, and he even wants to challenge the 1st and 2nd rankers of the Immortal Ascension rankings. I'm afraid it'll be even more difficult to deal with him. In addition, they've already gathered more troops from the Qin sect, and it'll be even more difficult to deal with them. There were also people who were worried. The effect of the battle formation won't be too great. We already have an irreconcilable enmity with Qin Wendian, and at that time, we'll have to use immortal-ranked weapons to fight. At that time, the situation would be extremely chaotic, and the situation would be extremely disadvantageous to us. After all, His Majesty only wants to kill Qin Wendian and the others, but he can't kill the other geniuses in the city of ancient emperors. Otherwise, the Dongshangshan Gate would have a huge grudge against the Qin sect. Many people of the Dongshangshan Gate had a pessimistic attitude. Don't tell me we're going to kill our way into the city of ancient emperors only to flee in such a sorry state? How are we going to explain this to His Majesty? Someone roared in anger, filled with disdain towards the pessimistic people. The two groups of people started to argue. Before this, they thought that with so many experts here, it would be extremely easy for them to annihilate Qin Wendian and the Qin sect. But after the first battle, they discovered that the Qin sect wasn't simple. And now, the Qin sect was even more terrifying, directly threatening their lives. Stop talking. The person in the lead waved his hand, interrupting the conversation. Arguing like this isn't a solution. Let's make preparations for battle at any time. If we return in defeat like this and sneakily sneak out of the city of ancient emperors, our Dongshangshan Gate would never be able to raise our heads in the entire immortal realms again. The expressions of the geniuses all turned heavy. Indeed, this was the city of ancient emperors, and the people here were all geniuses from all over the immortal realms. The news of this would surely spread throughout the immortal realms. If they were to flee with their tails between their legs, the reputation of the Dongshangshan Gate would be completely ruined. The Dongshangshan Gate had already sent an army to kill Qin Wendian, and they were already ruthless enough. Flee? The face of the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor would be completely thrown away by them. Send a few people to the Violet Sect and Evil Palace. Let's see if they can form an alliance to deal with the Qin sect together. The person in the lead spoke in a low voice, his words causing the eyes of everyone to flicker. This was a good idea. If the Violet Sect and Evil Palace were willing to ally with them to deal with the Qin sect, they wouldn't have to fear the Qin sect at all. Very swiftly, the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate soared through the air, preparing to head to the Violet Sect and Evil Palace. Right now, the Violet Sect and Evil Palace weren't idle either. Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie both heard the news of Qin Wendian challenging them. The entire city of ancient emperors seemed to be waiting for a showdown at the pinnacle. It had been a very long time since such an exciting scene had appeared in the city of ancient emperors. Sunlight shone down on this land that had countless years of history. There were people flying through the air everywhere in the city of ancient emperors. There were geniuses contending against each other, sects and powers engaged in battle, experts searching for ancient ruins, and geniuses adventuring in dangerous places. All of them were constantly improving themselves. At the location where the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate were gathered, the atmosphere was extremely tense. Not long ago, they received news that the experts from the Qin sect, under the leadership of Qin Wendian, had already left the Qin sect and were rushing here. Evidently, not only were they monitoring the actions of the Qin sect was also monitoring them. Both sides were completely exposed to each other, and there was no way they could hide their actions from each other. And now, the great battle was finally about to begin. After hearing the reports, the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate heard that over 500 geniuses were rushing over. This caused the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate to be even more flustered. Some of them even had thoughts of fleeing from the city of ancient emperors. The situation seemed to have reversed. However, the Dongshangshan Gate ultimately didn't flee. Zi Daoyang and Mo Xie had promised them that once the Qin sect made a move, they would immediately rush over. Now, they could only place their hopes on the Violet Sect and Evil Palace. Not only were the experts from the Dongshangshan Gate shaken, the Qin sect had also left their headquarters. The various geniuses in the city of ancient emperors all received the news, and this ancient city was in an uproar. The experts from the various powers all started to rush in the same direction, to the location where the experts from the Dongshengshan Gate were gathered. A great battle was about to erupt at any moment. Chapter 975. In the city of ancient emperors, countless geniuses gathered together like a flood, all of them rushing towards the same direction. In fact, because they were in a hurry, they even borrowed the strength of their immortal weapons and sped through the air with lightning speed. In the encampment of the Dongshengshan Gate, over 300 geniuses of the Dongshengshan Gate had already formed into a formation, divided into 4 groups. Their gazes turned to the horizons, only to see a black mass of experts flying through the air. Their auras were majestic, as dazzling as the sunlight cascading down from the heavens. The person in the lead was none other than Qin Wenyan. Beside Qin Wenyan, the 2 pillars of the Qin sect, Nam Huang Yunshi and Qing'e, were all present. Other than them, Hua Taishu, Jun Mingchen, Zi Qingxian and the others were also present. There were also 2 gigantic demonic beasts guarding Qin Wenyan. One of them was a gigantic body forged from pure gold, its eyes gleaming with a towering might, while the other was bathed in boundless flames. It was actually a vermilion bird that resembled a vermilion bird from purgatory. The flames around it caused the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. The experts of the Dongshengshan Gate all grew nervous. Their countenances were heavy as they stared ahead. The group of geniuses at the very front gave them an immense sense of pressure. All of them were supreme geniuses, and all of them seemed to have undergone a transformation, many times stronger compared to the past. Finally, both sides faced each other. The experts of the Qin sect stopped in the air. Qin Wenyan swept his gaze over the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate as he coldly spoke. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor was killed by me because his disciple was useless. He actually sent an army of over 300 geniuses from the Dongshengshan Gate over here. Most probably, all the geniuses at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon of the Dongshengshan Gate were all gathered here. If all of you died here, how would the Dongxing Heaven Emperor feel? Qin Wenyan, you borrowed the strength of the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors to fight against my Dongshengshan Gate. Don't you feel any shame for making use of others? The leader of the Dongshengshan Gate coldly spoke as he stared at Qin Wenyan. What a joke! Qin Wenyan stepped out and pointed his finger at the 4 people in the lead. The Dongshengshan Gate led over 300 experts to kill their way into the city of ancient emperors, creating a new history in the history of the city of ancient emperors. The 4 of you actually still have the face to say the word, shameless? The 4 of you scram out here. I'll fight against the 4 of you alone. Do you dare? The expressions of the 4 in the lead sank as a terrifying light gleamed in their eyes. Qin Wenyan was publicly issuing a challenge to the 4 of them. One of them coldly snorted, but he didn't accept the challenge. Qin Wenyan was ranked at the top of the Immortal Ascension rankings. Now that his strength had undergone a transformation, he would only grow stronger. Even if the 4 of them joined forces, they didn't have the confidence to defeat Qin Wenyan. You don't even dare to fight? Is this the Dongshengshan Gate? What a joke! Jun Mingchen coldly mocked. What? Does the Qin sect want to bully us with numbers? From afar, a voice filled with coldness and arrogance drifted over. From afar, a group of experts could be seen rushing over. These were none other than the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings, Zi Daoyang. Right now, Zi Daoyang had already obtained 2/9 of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor's inheritance. His aura had grown even colder, and an intense sense of danger radiated from him. Zi Daoyang. Qin Wenyan stared at Zi Daoyang, his eyes gleaming with sharpness as he indifferently asked, "The Violet sect wants to form an alliance with the Dongshengshan Gate? That would have to depend on your Qin sect." Zi Daoyang coldly laughed. Zi Daoyang, I've said it before. After the matter of the Dongshengshan Gate is settled, I will challenge you alone, with the geniuses of the Qin sect as witnesses. I believe that the geniuses of the Violet sect wouldn't be willing to engage in a life-and-death battle with the members of my Qin sect, right? If your sect leader, Zi Daoyang, doesn't even have the courage to accept my challenge, it wouldn't be worth it for you to fight for him. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. When I rose to fame, Qin Wentian's whereabouts were still unknown. Do you think I wouldn't dare to accept your challenge? Zi Daoyang arrogantly spoke. Since this is the case, just watch from the side. If you, Zi Daoyang, are so eager to fight, I don't mind challenging you first. Qin Wentian's tone was filled with an intense provocation. Do you really think you're very strong? Big brother Daoyang is the top ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings. How can he be defeated by you? You don't even have the qualifications to challenge him, Xiao Lingyue, who was standing beside Zi Daoyang, added. Shut up. Qin coldly snorted. She turned her gaze onto Xiao Lingyue, her eyes so cold that it felt as though they could pierce right through her. Xiao Lingyue's countenance turned cold as she stared at Qin. But back then, she was defeated by Qin. She truly didn't have the qualifications to challenge Zi Daoyang. Xiao Lingyue, seems like you haven't embarrassed yourself enough yet. Jun Mingchen mocked. Xiao Lingyue's countenance was as cold as ice, as the aura around her grew even colder. Zi Dong, since this man wants to fight, you should teach him how to be a proper person, an expert from the Violet sect spoke. That's right, this man is truly brazen. But since there's a chance to settle this in a single battle, you should directly suppress him, and the Qin sect will naturally collapse, another person added. Zi Daoyang stared at Qin Wenin as he slowly spoke. Since you put it this way, I'll do as you wish. But before that, I'll wait for you to resolve the grudge between you and the Dongshengshan Gate. Qin Wenin shifted his gaze away from Zi Daoyang. With a wave of his hand, the geniuses of the Qin sect surrounded the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate, surrounding the entire space. At the same time, Qin Wendian spoke. If a single person from the Dongshengshan Gate takes out an immortal ranked weapon, activate the immortal ranked weapon battle immediately. Get into formation. The experts of the Dongshengshan Gate immediately commanded. This time around, they were at an absolute disadvantage in terms of numbers. If they were at a disadvantage in the immortal ranked weapon battle, they might still have a chance of victory by relying on their battle formations. Out of the 4 factions, 2 of them took the lead and got into formation. They were the Primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation and the Giant Cauldron Battle Formation. In an instant, their auras towered up into the sky. Qin Wenian also had a sealing formation, but right now, they didn't have the advantage. Sealing the void would only serve to restrict them. Hence, the experts from the other 2 factions all got into formation. In an instant, the entire space was filled with battle formations as destructive might erupted forth. Mengchen, Taishu, Qingxian, Purgatory, the 4 of you go and break the various battle formations. Qin, follow me and break the Devil Ape Battle Formation. Nanfeng and Little Rascal, break the Giant Cauldron Battle Formation. Qin Wentian swiftly commanded. A moment later, all of them split up. The geniuses behind them followed closely behind them. Qin Wenin then commanded, Brothers of the Qin sect, split the number of people evenly. You can choose whichever faction you want to follow. Let's break the formations first before killing the enemies. Qin Wenian didn't directly activate his immortal ranked weapon. In a battle like this, they would have a greater advantage. However, he still had to take into consideration the geniuses of the Qin sect who were willing to follow him. Once an immortal ranked weapon was activated, life and death would be decided in an instant. No one could guarantee that they wouldn't die. Hence, he would rather choose a head-on battle. Even if their opponents got into formation, they still had the advantage in terms of numbers and strength. In terms of individual combat prowess, the geniuses of the Qin sect were clearly stronger than the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate. In the air, a terrifying black cloud abruptly appeared as a stifling pressure bore down. Faint traces of tribulation clouds could be seen, enveloping this entire space. This scene caused the gazes of the geniuses who were spectating from afar to freeze. What was going on? Did the law energy of the city of ancient emperors descend to witness this battle? Engage in close-range combat, break apart the formation. Qin Wenian and Qing directly rushed towards the primordial Devil Ape Battle Formation. Behind them, there were a total of over 100 geniuses. It would be more logical to arrange for more people to break apart the two formations. Roar! The shadow of the devil ape appeared as the sky changed color. A thunderous roar rang out as an incomparably gigantic palm imprint slammed towards them, enveloping the entire space. Boundless spatial light radiated from Qing, as the law energy of space gushed forth. The immortal slaying diagram blasted out, transforming into a gigantic diagram that blotted out the sky. It was like a spatial vortex that shot towards the gigantic palm imprint, directly enveloping it. The gigantic palm imprint was actually swallowed up by the power of the primordial devil-ape battle formation. A heaven-shaking boom rang out as the immortal slaying diagram and the gigantic palm imprint shattered at the same time. Regardless of the disciples of the Qin sect or the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate, all of them felt their hearts trembling. Qing actually relied on her own strength to negate the attack of the primordial devil-ape battle formation. How powerful! Princess Qing's immortal slaying diagram is countless times stronger compared to before. Their group of geniuses must have truly obtained a miraculous encounter, causing their strength to transform once again. The geniuses who were spectating from afar also exclaimed in shock. Too powerful, the power of that single attack could be said to be unrivaled. This time around, the geniuses of the primordial devil-ape battle formation were as fast as lightning. All of them were filled with violent attacks, yet they didn't unleash them. This was all because Qing single-handedly blocked that attack for them, allowing them to gain an opportunity. The primordial devil-ape battle formation let out a heaven-shaking roar. A gigantic foot stomped down, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. This stomp contained boundless runic inscriptions, capable of suppressing the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian's god's hand transformed into a long spear. His body expanded to several hundred meters, comparable to a devil ape. His long spear expanded explosively, pulsing with boundless runic light as destructive energy gushed forth frenziedly. The spear light flashed with a resplendent bloodline power. Bzz! Qin Wenyan stabbed out with his spear, causing the world to tremble. The destructive might collided with the gigantic foot, causing the long spear to pierce right through. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as the gigantic foot exploded into pieces. The earlier attack was from Qin, and this attack was from Qin Wenyan. Similarly, he relied on his own strength to resist the might of the battle formation. His strength was so terrifying that it was unheard of. The instant the battle erupted, the geniuses who were spectating were all dumbfounded. Their hearts pounded violently as they felt waves of shock in their hearts. This was what a true battle at the pinnacle was like. These two attacks were already sufficient for the geniuses of the Qin sect to approach. Beams of incomparably resplendent light radiated forth as they all launched their attacks, aiming for the experts of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect within the formation, disrupting their control over the formation. This was undoubtedly the best method to break the formation. As long as the members of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect were in a state of chaos, the formation would naturally crumble apart. Chapter 976. At the same time when Qin Wenyan and Little Rascal were fighting, the entire space around them was trembling as everyone was fighting. Nanfeng Yunshi and Little Rascal joined forces. Their attacks were similarly extremely powerful. Nanfeng Yunshi was bathed in the flames of the phoenix, and with a flick of her finger, the phoenix cried out in unison as the flames tore everything apart. Little Rascal's body was forged from pure gold, and his gigantic frame was incomparably tough. Each of his attacks contained earth-shattering might, and the ancient cauldrons that descended from the sky were all shattered by the two of them. The other experts all launched their own attacks, causing chaos in the air. As for the other battle formations, Jun Mengchen, Hua Taishu, Zi Qingxian, and Purgatory each led a team of experts, tearing apart the smaller battle formations. The power of a 9-man battle formation was clearly inferior to the 81-man battle formation. A clear sky worldly diagram appeared behind Jun Mengchen, and each of his punches contained a fearsome might. Clad in armor, he resembled an eternal monarch, borrowing the power of the clear sky worldly diagram to unleash the most ferocious of attacks. A small battle formation basically had no way to withstand his attacks, and in addition to the support of the experts behind him, they easily tore apart a small battle formation in a short period of time. Kill! Jun Mengchen punched out. His emperor's fist transformed into a golden torrent of destruction, lacerating everything. In just an instant, the 9 geniuses that formed the battle formation were directly torn apart. They didn't even have the time to use their trump cards or take out their divine weapons before they were already dead. Hua Taishu was similarly terrifying. After being bathed in the sacred luminance, his eyes of samsara seemed to have undergone a transformation as well. When he blinked, the light from the world of samsara could be seen, causing the sky to lose its color. Those experts only felt themselves being drawn into Hua Taishu's world, and the only thing in their minds was the revolving eyes of samsara. The experts of the Qin sect behind them attacked, using absolute strength to crush them. Their hearts trembled. Qin Wenyin and the others truly had a miraculous encounter. Jun Mingchen and Hua Taishu's strength had all undergone a transformation, becoming terrifyingly powerful. Their cultivation bases were all at the 9th level of celestial phenomenon. Zi Qingxian and Purgatory were also on a killing spree, exuding incomparable might. The talent and strength of the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were originally inferior to Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian. These people were all geniuses who had passed the test of the Dongshengshan Gate, and now that they had undergone the baptism of the sacred luminance, they underwent a qualitative transformation. How could these so-called geniuses of the Dongshengshan Gate be comparable to them? The battle here was completely one-sided. What powerful combat prowess, how terrifying! These people are all going to be ranked within the top 10 of the Immortal Ascension rankings. The spectating geniuses all felt their hearts trembling. Right now, not only were Qin Wenyin, Qing'er and Nam Huang Yunxi strong, Jun Mingchen, Hua Taishu and Zi Qingxian were all tyrannically strong, sweeping through everything like heavenly gods descending to the mortal world, unexcelled in this world. Dongshengshan Gate is doomed. A thought appeared in the minds of the spectators. For this battle, the Dongshengshan Gate would definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Even if they condensed a battle formation, it would be useless. Daoyang gauged their strength. Xiaoling Yue's countenance was extremely cold. She was once ranked number 6 in the Immortal Ascension rankings. Although her ranking had fallen, she was still within the top 10. But now that she saw the strength of Jun Mingchen and the others, she discovered that any one of them might be able to fight against her. At the very least, this was the case in terms of strength. It was just that she hadn't fought against them head-on, and she had no way to gauge the exact extent of their strength. Qin Wenyin, Jun Mingchen and Zi Qingxian. When they first entered the city of ancient emperors, they were all members of Xiaoling Yue's Xiao sect. At that time, they were simply inconspicuous, only at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon. But after they entered the city of ancient emperors, Xiaoling Yue felt extremely strange, and her entire body was filled with discomfort. Zi Daoyang's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at Qin Wenyin and the others, observing their combat prowess. Indeed, all of them had grown stronger, and all of this should be attributed to the sealed Antiquity City. The Antiquity City. Zi Daoyang clenched his fists tightly. Why didn't he go there earlier? What good fortune did Qin Wenyin and the others obtain exactly? Mo Xie had also entered, and he must have obtained some good fortune as well. If Mo Xie's strength also grew stronger, how strong would he be exactly? Would he be a threat to his position as the number 1 ranker of the Immortal Ascension rankings? After I collect all the inheritances of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor, I will be able to use the abilities of these people. Zi Daoyang felt an intense desire in his heart. Right now, his goal was to obtain the complete inheritance of the Brahma Heavenly Emperor. Boom! At this moment, a destructive might directly descended from the sky, shocking everyone. This was like a calamity might that directly slammed into a strand of immortal sense that had just appeared. This strand of immortal sense originated from a genius of the Dongshengshan Gate. That genius was the son of an immortal king, and hence, he was protected by a strand of immortal sense. But even before he could rejoice that his life was spared, his immortal sense was already destroyed by the law energy. The law energy of the city of ancient emperors is interfering with this battle. The hearts of the geniuses were incomparably shocked. This grand battle actually attracted the intervention of the protectors of the city of ancient emperors, preventing their immortal sense from interfering. So it turned out that the protectors of the city of ancient emperors were here to ensure that this battle would proceed smoothly. Everyone stared at the sky. This was the first time the law energy of the city of ancient emperors had actually interfered with a battle. It was as though the protectors of the city of ancient emperors were acting as protectors for this battle. Although it took a long time to describe, from the start until now, only a short period of time had passed. All the attacks, the killing, the birth of the immortal sense, the descent of the tribulation energy, all happened in an extremely short period of time. The scenes were too much for the eyes to take in, causing the hearts of the spectators to pound wildly as they sighed in admiration. At this moment, Qin Wenyan and Qing led the powerful group of geniuses into the primordial devil-ape battle formation. However, the experts in the formation didn't choose to fight alone. Their bodies were all enveloped by a terrifying demonic light. The shadow of the primordial devil ape enveloped everyone as boundless demonic might radiated from it. Scram! A thunderous roar thundered out. The experts in the formation all blasted out their fists at the same time. All of them were blasted out by the primordial devil ape battle formation. Incomparably ferocious fist lights crushed everything. Qin Wentian's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. His body was gigantic, and his long spear was as fast as lightning as he blasted out countless afterimages. Thunderous rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly, and wherever the white runic light flashed, the fist lights would all be destroyed. But even so, there were still some disciples of the Qin sect who were struck. They coughed out blood as they were flung through the air. The defense of the primordial devil-ape battle formation is being depleted unceasingly. Brothers of the Qin sect, if you attack with all your might, you will definitely be able to tear it apart. Let me act as a protector for all of you. Qin Wentian roared. In the air, a terrifying primordial demon constellation flashed as numerous greater demons manifested, descending from the sky. Each of these demonic beasts exuded an incomparably violent demonic might. At the same time, the Slaughter Sword constellation and Suppression Annihilation constellation appeared as boundless light cascaded downwards. Sword might filled the sky, while the golden body of the primordial devil-ape battle formation suppressed everything, frenziedly attacking the energy blasted out by the primordial devil-ape battle formation, doing their best to protect the members of the Qin sect. To be able to cultivate the various constellations to such an extent, he's simply able to fight against 10,000 enemies. The strength of Qin Wenyan alone was definitely sufficient to contend against the strength of an entire army. If it wasn't for the experts of the Eastern Sage Immortal sect forming a powerful battle formation, none of them would be able to withstand a single strike from him. They would all be killed with a single strike. Kill! The morale of the experts of the Qin sect soared. With such a powerful sect leader like Qin Wenyan acting as their protector, how could they not be able to break through this mere battle formation? Qing's countenance was cold. Boundless spatial light radiated from her as she stood at the forefront of the battlefield, facing the battle formation. A palm imprint blasted out, landing on the light screen. At this moment, numerous spatial lotuses of destruction grew within the light screen. The power contained within the spatial law energy was able to penetrate through it. Qing's long hair fluttered in the wind as she circulated the green lotus sacred cannon once again. Her expression was cold as an azure lotus manifested beneath her feet. The lotus that permeated the light screen transformed into a terrifying killing intent that gushed forth. The experts within the battle formation all had expressions of extreme terror on their faces. Their strength was all concentrated within the battle formation. If they were distracted, the formation would collapse. The reason why this battle formation was so powerful was because everyone was working together as one. There were no individual cultivators, only a single entity. But at this moment, Qing's attack directly pierced into the heart of the battle formation, wanting to kill them all. Puchi! A few beams of blood-red light flashed as the spatial lotuses slashed into the light screen with unstoppable force. The countenances of the others drastically changed as they finally retracted their strength and frenziedly defended against Qing's attack. At this moment, the light screen of the battle formation grew weaker and weaker, as though it was about to collapse. When the experts of the Qin sect saw this, their attacks grew even more violent. Their combat prowess was already extremely high, and this time around, the sounds of their attacks shook the heavens as booming sounds rang out unceasingly. Qin Wenyan stabbed out with his spear once more, causing the light screen to shatter as the long spear directly pierced through, instantly killing several people. At this moment, the battle formation of the Dongshengshan Gate had completely collapsed. The people of the Dongshengshan Gate are in for it. The spectators all had the same thought in their minds. These geniuses were all watching this battle from the outside, and their hearts were all filled with waves of shock. When the spear landed, they already knew that there was no more suspense to this battle. The Dongshengshan Gate would soon face Qin Wentian's revenge. Kill! When the experts of the Qin sect saw the battle formation collapsing, they were filled with rage as they madly slaughtered their way in. Numerous golden figures descended from the sky above the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate, forcefully suppressing them. After which, Qin Wentian's long spear struck out once more. Many people didn't even have the time to resist, and they all died. Just like what the spectators had expected, without the battle formation, there was no one who could withstand a single strike from Qin Wenyan. At this moment, the faces of all the disciples of the Dongshengshan Gate were filled with terror and despair. How could this be? They had slaughtered their way into the city of ancient emperors, and they were originally destined to annihilate the Qin sect and kill Qin Wenyan. Why did the ending turn out like this? Qin Wentian's countenance was completely different from the experts of the Dongshengshan Gate. His eyes were filled with coldness. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor had ordered over 300 geniuses of the Dongshengshan Gate to slaughter their way into the city of ancient emperors to kill him. In this battle, he would make the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor regret the wrong choice he had made, and make the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor lose all face. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.